Chapter 1373. After Jiang Tian set up the stall, there were quite a few cultivators watching. After all, there were very few blacksmiths here. However, they only pointed and discussed for a while before leaving. Then, another group of people came over and pointed. Jiang Tian did not panic. He just sat cross-legged on the stall and meditated. Bai Zhe and the big black dog took Xia Yan for a stroll, leaving only Zhenlong and Long Yanan to wait by his side. Jiang Tian was very clear about the thoughts of cultivators. The failure rate of refining was very high. Especially for Jiang Tian, this unknown stranger, they didn't trust him even more. And once he failed, those priceless refining materials would be destroyed in an instant. They were not willing to take the risk. Jiang Tian stood up calmly and added another line of words on the signboard: if the refining fails or does not reach the required grade, the materials will be returned double. Then, Jiang Tian patted the sky-devouring demon gourd and took out a few magic treasures. He placed them on the stall and sat down again. Boom! Seeing Jiang Tian write this line of words, the surrounding cultivators were instantly in an uproar. They looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. A tall and burly foundation establishment cultivator took a few steps forward and cupped his fists. Fellow Taoist, may I ask if you only charge twice the price for refining? Also, if the refining fails, you have to return twice the materials. That's right. It's not like you don't know how to read. Jiang Tian pointed at the magic treasures on the stall and said with a calm smile, if I fail, I will take these magic treasures as compensation. Thank you, Senior. The male cultivator's eyes shone brightly as he looked greedily at the many magic treasures on the ground. Then, he took out a fist-sized piece of dark purple essence iron from his storage bag and said, this is a piece of high-grade purple gold sea iron, worth 100 million crystals. It can be used to forge 3 high-grade magic treasures, dragon scale darts. Senior, can you do it? Bullshit. Your purple gold sea iron can only be considered middle grade. After removing the impurities, it can only be used to forge 1 dragon scale dart. It's not even enough. And it can only be middle grade. Lei Yongming, the two of you don't have the ability to find materials, yet you use inferior materials to refine high-grade magical equipment. Do you have any shame? Could it be a trap to blackmail us? Little brother, don't agree to it. He's a scam. You're just bullying other people because they're unfamiliar with this place. Since you can't get them to refine weapons, you're trying to extort money from them. How evil. After Jiang Tian wrote down the words if the artifact forging fails, double the compensation, more and more cultivators gathered. There were now 3 layers of cultivators inside and 3 layers of cultivators outside. There were at least several hundred cultivators there. Some were even standing on their flying swords to observe the situation from afar. At this moment, after hearing Lei Yongming's words, everyone immediately began to ridicule Lei Yongming. Faced with everyone's criticism, the foundation establishment cultivator called Lei Yongming's face flushed red and a trace of shame appeared on his face. He hurriedly cupped his fists and smiled bitterly. Little brother, this brother definitely has no intention of harming you. I didn't make it clear. If you have heavenly sea crystals, you can add some to increase the strength of the darts. You can still refine high-grade darts. Of course, I won't take your materials for free. I'll give you 200 million crystals as a reward. I don't have any heavenly sea crystals. Jiang Tian shook his head. Then it seems that you can't refine it. Lei Yongming revealed a deep disappointment. He put away his purple gold sea iron and turned to leave. Wait. Jiang Tian waved his folding fan and said casually. Who said that middle-grade purple gold sea iron can't be refined into high-grade magical equipment? Who said that you have to add heavenly sea crystals? As soon as these words came out, there was a dead silence. Everyone was shocked and looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief as if they had seen a ghost. He's crazy. How can such a small piece of middle-grade purple gold sea iron be refined into a high-grade dragon scale dart? It's more likely to be refined 10 times more. Or as old Lei said, add heavenly sea crystals to increase the hardness. Otherwise, it's impossible that he can't refine it. How can it be easy to improve the attributes of materials beyond the grade? Even the top craftsmen of the Treasure Seafood Pavilion and the Seaview Pavilion can't do it. After a full 10 seconds, the crowd burst into an uproar. Everyone was discussing and no one was optimistic about Jiang Tian. Old Lei, don't let him refine it. This kid obviously doesn't know how to refine. He's just using your stuff to practice. What if he breaks it? Are you really going to take his compensation? What if he has some powerful cultivator behind him and you can't get it? Some warm-hearted cultivators began to persuade Lei Yongming. Yes, yes, yes. The old man saw that although this young man's cultivation is ordinary, the old man behind him is not simple. If he breaks it, he won't pay you double the compensation as agreed. He won't even give you a single hair. Someone touched his chin and said calmly. Don't panic, don't panic. Let me think. Lei Yongming was a bit tempted at first, but then he looked at Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon and hesitated. This purple gold sea iron was something he had obtained by killing several Foundation Establishment stage sea demons and going through untold hardships. He even lost 3 Foundation Establishment stage fellow Taoists. The price was too heavy and he couldn't afford to lose anything. Ha, it's just a few Dharma treasures. If young master fails, we'll pay you double. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon grunted. True. Don't worry. Anyway, there are a lot of cultivators from the Jade Lake and the Chiu family here. If they dare to do anything, we'll report it. I don't think a Foundation Establishment cultivator can stop them. Someone encouraged Lei Yongming. Okay, I'll take the risk. Lei Yongming finally gritted his teeth and took out the purple gold sea iron again. He handed it to Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon carefully and said sincerely, be careful. Fellow Taoist, you must be careful. I only have this piece of violet gold sea iron, and I can't allow anything to happen to it. Meanwhile, someone in the crowd suddenly frowned and exclaimed, Lei Yongming, something is wrong. He said he's going to make a Dharma treasure. Why doesn't he have a furnace or a hammer? Yeah, he's not a liar, is he? Lei Yongming, get it back. Don't let it be taken by someone else. Everyone cried out in alarm. Oh no. Lei Yongming was also startled and was about to ask for it. Jiang Tian smiled leisurely and said, I don't need a furnace or a hammer to make a Dharma treasure. It's just a Dharma treasure. I can get it easily. Fire. Jiang Tian flicked his finger. A ball of true fire of the red sparrow shot out from his fingertip and wrapped around the purple gold sea iron. What kind of fire is that? The purple gold sea iron has started to melt. Is it an eternal flame? Everyone exclaimed in unison, revealing a deeply shocked expression. Even Lei Yongming stopped and gulped as he stared at Jiang Tian's fire. The purple gold sea iron was produced in the deep sea and had been refined under high pressure. It was extremely cold, but also extremely tough and stable. Normal fire couldn't melt it even if it was burned for 100 days. Only an eternal flame could do that. Furnace, form. Jiang Tian flicked his finger. In a blink, the true fire of the red sparrow changed 9 times and formed an ancient furnace. The purple gold sea iron was completely melted and then divided into 3 balls to form the shape of a dart. It had surpassed the 30 days of hard work of a top Dharma treasure craftsman. Thunder, come. Then, Jiang Tian waved his hand. His words were the law. Inside his lower abdomen, the thunder slaughter god body was roaring. 81 lightning strikes fell like a storm, forming a thunder hammer that entered the furnace, hammering and quenching the furnace. In the end, Jiang Tian said, the Dharma treasure is formed. Boom! With a loud bang, the lightning dissipated and the flames in the furnace were extinguished. Under everyone's shocked gazes, 3 darts that looked like iron nails floated in the void. They were dark gold in color and shone brightly. The golden lines intertwined to form an incomparably gorgeous pattern. It was as though there was a layer of tiny dragon scales on the surface of the darts. Now that the Dharma treasure was formed, its ferocious aura shrouded a radius of 10 miles. The entire market was shrouded in a chilling killing intent and everyone could sense it. Their spirits froze. At that moment, only a dozen seconds had passed and it was only the time for a sentence. The moment the dragon scale darts were created. The surrounding cultivators and even the cultivators in the other shops were stunned and filled with disbelief. Is that the legendary Dharma treasure creation? There was dead silence in the sky and on the ground. Suddenly, a cultivator said with a hoarse voice. Chapter 1374. The refinement of magical equipment by cultivators was fundamentally different from the refinement of steel and iron by ordinary people. The refinement of steel and iron had at most a few dozen steps, and the temperature inside the furnace was usually kept constant. But when cultivators refined magical equipment, they had to mix dozens or even hundreds of raw materials together. The furnace temperature would change 3 to 5 times every second, and the temperature of over 1,000 degrees Celsius would drop to below zero in an instant. When to put in the hundreds of raw materials, how to change the furnace temperature every second, how to grasp the timing of quenching, even the simplest flying sword had to go through hundreds of procedures before it could be successfully refined. Therefore, the control runes of the crafting furnace were as complicated as the main control rune arrays of a crystal warship. Even the top refiners of this world, even the living fossils of the Sea-Viewing Pavilion and the Oceanic Treasures Tower, would need several months of hard work to refine a piece of magical equipment. If they wanted to refine a spirit treasure, they would need a year or even several years of hard work. As for a true artifact, it would take 60 years to refine. The most important thing was that no one had been able to refine a true artifact in the past 1,000 years. Artifact creation with a thought. It was rumored that this kind of refining technique only existed in Hylon, the ruins of immortality, and other higher-level worlds. No one was in control of this world. For a moment, tens of thousands of telepathic thoughts were transmitted rapidly in the air. The news spread throughout the entire market in the blink of an eye, even to the cities of the second and third boards. Tens of millions of cultivators were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. Artifact creation with a thought, how is this possible? Many of the higher-ups, managers, and workers of the Oceanic Treasures Tower were dumbfounded as if they had seen a ghost. As for the manager of the Oceanic Treasures Tower, Ouyang Yuan, he rushed to the window and stared at the dragon scale dart floating in front of Jiang Tian, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. It's over. Let alone opening a store, even if this kid sets up a stall, we won't be able to support him. One of the higher-ups murmured. This is impossible. Artifact creation with a thought, only the legendary king of refining can perform such a thing. Ouyang Yuan jumped up and said in exasperation, this is definitely not a real dragon scale dart. This is just a clumsy imitation. Even the Grandmaster blacksmiths in our main store can't refine it. The other higher-ups also came to their senses. That's right. It was still possible for this young man to forge a magical weapon in a short period of time. After all, a Grandmaster craftsman had a profound understanding of the art of crafting. There were precedents for someone who could achieve crafting in 7 steps and 1 sentence. But the dragon scale dart was a piece of magical equipment. Furthermore, it was powerful and had complex runes. It was one of the more difficult artifacts to refine. Identifying materials, quenching, purifying through 9 cycles of mystical flame, pulling out the embryo, sealing the talisman, lightning tribulation, and finally completing the artifact. This series of complex processes was something that even a top-notch blacksmith wouldn't be able to accomplish in one go. It would take at least a month of hard work. However, Jiang Tian's success with the Psyche tool was like a legend. That's right. This kid is just a clumsy imitation. He definitely doesn't have 10% of the power of the dragon scale dart. An old appraiser in a green robe was also alarmed. He walked out of the inner hall, looked down at Jiang Tian from upstairs, and said in a cold voice, Jiang Tian. Furthermore, his patterns are indeed slightly different from ours. Most people won't be able to tell the difference. Elder Hu, did you see that? These cultivators can't discover us. All the customers have run away. He's starting to refine artifacts. If this goes on, our business will be seriously affected. Yang Yuan said anxiously. He wasn't lying. At this time, Lei Yongming had already paid 200 million crystal stones to Jiang Tian and was happily introducing him to everyone. Almost all the cultivators were alarmed. They walked out of the shops and gathered in front of Jiang Tian. They took out their materials and asked Jiang Tian to refine artifacts for them. They even argued with each other and raised the price by 3 times. Elder Hu waved his sleeves and stood with his hands behind his back. He sneered and said, "That's easy. Expose his lies." 2 kinds of dragon scale dart collide at supersonic speed. As he spoke, he walked out of the seafood tower and went to the top of the crowd. He said coldly, "This kid is fishing for fame. He's using shoddy materials. This is a fake dragon scale dart. Don't be fooled." What? Lei Yongming panicked. It's appraiser Elder Hu. Let's get out of the way. There's a change. The originally chaotic and crowded crowd immediately separated like a tide, leaving a space. Some people even bowed deeply to Elder Hu. Obviously, they respected him very much. At this time, Yang Yuan also came. He took out a dragon scale dart and handed it to Lei Yongming. "Fellow cultivator Lei, this is the real dragon scale dart. You can compare it carefully. See if there's any difference." Lei Yongming did a simple comparison and found that the runes were slightly different. He immediately turned pale and frowned. "It's really different. What's going on? What else could it be?" "You've been fooled. He's only refining an inferior one. It might not even be a Dharma artifact." Yang Yuan glanced at the crowd and said calmly, "Fellow cultivators, if you want to buy a Dharma artifact, especially if you want to commission a Dharma artifact, you must come to us, 1,000-year-old shop." He couldn't just pick up a sesame seed and throw away a watermelon just for a little bit of profit. Otherwise, if the material is destroyed, who can you ask for justice? Lei Yongming was heartbroken. He said pitifully, "Young Master Jiang, the refining failed. Can you compensate me as promised?" Of course, he was not afraid of Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian had the support of a true dragon ancestral patriarch, who seemed to be unfathomable, so he didn't offend him on the spot. Why did the refining fail? Jiang Tian glanced at Yang Yuan and Elder Hu. He sneered and said, "Do you think I've failed just because you said so? What kind of logic is that? Little brother, don't underestimate this small dragon scale dart. It's as complicated as a flying sword." Old Mr. Hu smiled and said, "There are 18 strengthening runes, 13 speed runes, 3 wind runes and 2 space-breaking runes on it. These runes are extremely complicated. They are the crystallization of the wisdom of many refining masters over thousands of years. There can't be any mistakes. Since it's different from your runes, does it mean that the refining failed?" Jiang Tian said with a mocking smile. "Of course." Mr. Hu flicked his sleeves and said proudly with the demeanor of a great appraiser, with his eyes on top of his head, "Ignorant boy. Do you know that refining artifacts, especially inscribing runes, is a delicate job? Once the slightest mistake is made, the Dharma treasure will become a Dharma artifact and a Dharma artifact will become an ordinary Dharma artifact." He softened his tone and said with a smile, "However, I think your fire and thunder arts are not bad. You might not be trying to cheat me, but you're just a newborn calf that isn't afraid of tigers. If you're loyal, I'm willing to take you as my disciple and teach you the supreme art of refining artifacts. I'll also pay for your compensation. What do you think?" As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian with envy. "Say yes. Kid, this old Mr. Hu is a refining master, the disciple of perfected cultivator Qin Yan of the artifact sect. If you become the disciple of a refining master, you'll be able to enjoy endless glory and wealth for the rest of your life. Even those golden core perfected cultivators, sect masters, city lords and island lords will have to respect you. Congratulations, young Master Jiang. I'll treat you tonight. Let's go to the Heavenly Ocean restaurant and have a good meal. If you refine artifacts for me in the future, I'll give you a 50% discount. Why are you hesitating? Why are you still hesitating? The Heavenly Ocean restaurant will be merciful if they don't punish you for disrupting the market and selling shoddy products. That's right. Elder who is broad-minded and magnanimous. Shopkeeper Ouyang is also kind-hearted. Everyone started to talk. Alright, let's keep it simple. I don't put on airs. Kowtow to me 3 times and I'll consider you my disciple. Mr. Hu stood proudly with his hands behind his back. His posture was very lofty. He also showed a smile and silently praised himself for his wit. Defeating Jiang Tian was not very meaningful. Instead of intensifying the conflict, he had easily eliminated a competitor and gained a useful talent. Chapter 1375. You dare to call yourself an old man in front of me and ask me to kowtow to you as my master? Bah, I think it's more appropriate to call you an old man. Jiang Tianan sat as still as a statue. He sneered and said, that's right. You want to be my master with just you alone. That little bit of cultivation of yours is trash to the extreme, and you still call it the supreme Tao of refining? You're really a frog at the bottom of a well. You don't know how vast the world is. I won't hide it from you. In this world, no one is qualified to be my master when it comes to refining. In fact, your master, true Lord Qin Yan, doesn't even have the right to hold the charcoal stove for me. He's not even fit to be my servant. With every word Jiang Tian said, Elder Hu and Ouyang Yuan's faces turned colder and the anger in their eyes burned brighter. The noise at the scene also quieted down. After Jiang Tian finished speaking, Yi Zichen looked at Jiang Tian. Elder Hu and Ouyang Yuan's faces were so cold that a layer of frost could be scraped off. Their eyes were almost spitting fire. The entire scene was deathly silent to the point a falling needle could be heard. Everyone was flabbergasted, and they were completely petrified like clay or wood sculptures. You dare to insult me, perfected Lord Qin Yan? Are you courting death? Ouyang Yuan was so angry that he wanted to kill Jiang Tian on the spot with a wave of his hand from a few Foundation establishment cultivators. Wait! Elder Hu raised his hand and stopped them. He gritted his teeth and said word by word, very good. Young man, your words are sharp. In the Dragon Gate world, it's been a long time since such an arrogant young man appeared in the refining industry. In fact, he hated Jiang Tian even more than Ouyang Yuan. Perfected Lord Qin Yan was his master. Jiang Tian scolding and humiliating him like this was like slapping him in the face. But Elder Hu and Ouyang Yuan were different. He was a refiner and an appraiser. And a refiner master naturally had his pride. Since the other party humiliated them in refining, they would fight back fiercely in refining. What's the point of killing him? Would killing him be able to prove that he was spouting bullshit and making irresponsible remarks? Can we pick up our dignity that was trampled on the ground by him? He glared at Jiang Tian and said in a cold voice, don't worry. Since you said that your refining skills are high and you didn't make any mistakes, then let's have a competition with our genuine dragon scale darts. Dare I ask, do you dare to agree? Why wouldn't I dare? Jiang Tian gently waved his folding fan. He was at ease and full of confidence. That cocky look of his could infuriate people to death. I just broke your darts. Don't feel bad about it. It's still a magical equipment worth 1 billion crystals. Fuck you. Ouyang Yuan was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Mr. Hu was so angry that his hands were trembling. He was extremely depressed. Shouldn't we be the ones saying that? You stole my lines. Mr. Hu suppressed his anger and made an obeisance to Lei Yongming. Let me borrow your fake dragon scale dart for a supersonic collision experiment. Of course, Yours will be damaged, but you don't have to worry. I can compensate you double, and it's the real deal. No problem. Lei Yongming naturally didn't hesitate and immediately handed over the 3 dragon scale darts. He didn't forget to kindly remind Jiang Tian, young Master Jiang, you can't do it. Don't humiliate yourself. He is a refining master. It's not too late to regret it now. Jiang Tian knew that he didn't have his own ideas, so he didn't take it to heart. He smiled indifferently and said, I have to compete with him. He's courting death. He's going to lose his reputation. He can't blame others. He won't cry until he sees the coffin. He only has himself to blame. Many onlookers sneered. In the refining circle, of course, there were various testing methods, as well as a lot of testing equipment and instruments. However, it was often time-consuming and difficult to come to a conclusion in a short time. As for the collision detection method, it was the simplest, crudest, and most effective method of detection. 2 magical treasures exerted the same amount of magical power or kinetic energy. Through the sound of collision, magical power fluctuations, flames and other external manifestations, especially the damage and wear after the collision, one could clearly judge the strength, hardness, speed, lethality and other aspects of the magical treasures. Since it's a collision testing method, you shouldn't activate the magical treasures of both sides. It's not fair. You should use a collider. When Elder Hu flicked his finger and threw out the 2 dragon scale darts, a slightly mocking voice came. A middle-aged cultivator at the peak of the foundation building stage came over on a sword. He stood in the air and looked at Elder Hu with a smile. This cultivator had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was in high spirits, but his 3 strands of beard and hair had been roasted by the fire until they were slightly dry and yellow. His face was full of charcoal ash, and the color of dust was extremely dense. There were specks of dust on his work clothes, and there were also a few big holes in them. It was obvious that he often used the furnace to refine weapons, and his actions were wild and unruly. Greetings, Grandmaster Lin Qin. However, nobody dared to underestimate him. Even Elder Hu and Ouyang Yuan bowed deeply to show their respect. So, he's Lin Qin, the new master of the True Fire Tower and the new Grandmaster of Refining. Someone exclaimed. Lin Qin. The new Grandmaster of Refining created a superior quality spiritual treasure 3 years ago, which shocked the entire Dragon Gate world. He's now on par with Grandmaster Qin Yan of the Oceanic Treasures Tower. Everybody looked at him with admiration. Many cultivators greeted and befriended him through telepathic communication. Although the most important thing for a cultivator was their own cultivation and combat ability, magical treasures were also very important in a real battle. More protective magical treasures were more often than not an extra life. Sometimes, many offensive magical treasures could increase one's combat ability rapidly. They were like great cheats. Therefore, refiners, array masters, and talisman masters were the most popular figures in the world of cultivators, just like alchemists. They were highly sought after by cultivators. Elder Hu, young Master Jiang, do you think my theory is reasonable? Lin Qin stood in the air with his hands behind his back. He nodded at Jiang Tian in a friendly manner and asked with a smile. Of course. Thank you, Grandmaster Lin Qin. Elder Hu bowed hurriedly and flicked his fingers. His primordial qi guided the 2 dragon scale darts into the air. Jiang Tian also nodded slightly. Grandmaster Lin Qin is like a wild crane. He doesn't like to fight for fame and fortune. He's always been fair. This is a fair duel. Everybody nodded and looked at the sky nervously and expectantly. Lin Qin had always been an indifferent person. He was obsessed with refining and did not care about worldly affairs. He was known as the weapon addict and did things according to his personal preferences. Sometimes, he was happy to refine weapons for others. Even if it took years of hard work, he would not take a single cent. He even had to pay with some expensive materials. Sometimes, it was a simple refining task, but the customer's personality did not suit him. Even if he paid 10 billion crystals, he would not even look at it. Therefore, although his refining skills were extraordinary and his true fire tower had 100 years of history, he could barely maintain his business. Sometimes, he could not even make ends meet and did not have a single branch. He was not like Treasure's Seafood Tower and Seaview Pavilion, which were well run and had branches all over the islands and cities. They had even evolved into huge trading companies based on their businesses. They made a lot of money every day and made a lot of money. Good darts. Lin Qin scanned the dragon-scale darts of Treasure's Seafood Tower with his divine sense. His pupils constricted and he showed a look of admiration. These dragon-scale darts of Treasure's Seafood Tower are made with the most authentic dragon-scale scattering technique. And it's made by Grandmaster Celestial Flame. Dragon-scale scattering. Grandmaster Celestial Flame. Everybody was shocked. Grandmaster Lin Qin's eyes are indeed sharp and insightful. Elder Hu and O Yangyuan showed a look of pride. Dragon-scale scattering was a secret technique of Treasure's Seafood Tower. When refining some of the simpler basic components, they would use the dragon-scale scattering technique to cover the surface of the artifact with a layer of dragon-scale-like structure without destroying many of the runes. Using the principles of bionics, the components would become stronger and stronger. Nails made with the same raw materials would be strengthened by the dragon-scale scattering technique at least 5 times stronger. And the most frightening thing was, the dragon-scale scattering technique was created by Grandmaster Celestial Flame 200 years ago when he observed flood dragons swimming in the deep sea. He observed the dragon's scales, dragon's shape, dragon's form, and dragon's intent and dragon's might. After that, this method of refining weapons gradually spread out and was perfected continuously. It was carried forward to perfection. It could be said that the dragon-scale darts were named after Grandmaster Celestial Flame's dragon-scale scattering technique. Grandmaster Celestial Flame was the founder of this type of darts. Too ruthless. Such a bully. Elder Hu is actually using the dragon-scale darts personally made by Grandmaster Celestial Flame to compete. Isn't this the same as rubbing young Master Jiang on the ground? A cultivator laughed disdainfully. If it were a magical equipment personally made by Elder Hu or other refining masters, then young Master Jiang might have the strength to fight. But this was made by Grandmaster Celestial Flame himself. The dragon-scale darts made by him must be of the highest quality among magical equipment. How could he possibly win? Chapter 1376. You can't blame Elder Hu. That kid was too full of himself. He said that the Celestial Flame Grandmaster wasn't fit to be his disciple. Did you hear that? Is that something a human would say? He deserves to be beaten to the ground. This kid is young and impetuous. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. It's good to temper his spirit. Otherwise, he'll cause even more trouble. He's just a boastful fanatic. He even dares to disrespect the Celestial Flame Grandmaster. He's looking down on the entire Dragon Gate world. Some cultivators couldn't stand Jiang Tian's behavior. They felt that Jiang Tian deserved to be humiliated. Lin Qin grabbed the dragon scale dart that Jiang Tian had refined. He frowned and rubbed it a few times. After scanning it with his divine sense, he said after a long time, "Strange, strange. It's too strange." What's strange? Did this kid refine it carelessly? Did he pass it off as a shoddy one? Grandmaster Lin Qin, please give us a straightforward answer. The crowd urged. They were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. Of course. His refining is completely unorthodox. There are many runes that I've never seen or heard of before. Elder Hu swung his sleeves arrogantly and snorted disdainfully. These runes are indeed different from the ones I've seen. But how should I put it? There's a hint of natural Tao. Lin Qin scratched his oily scalp and flicked the dandruff on his fingers. His gaze never left Jiang Tian's dragon scale dart. Grandmaster Lin Qin. Natural Tao. You can't say that. That's a charm that only a true artifact or a doctrine artifact would have. Yang Yuan was instantly enraged. He shouted impatiently, "Stop talking nonsense. You don't have to talk nonsense. Just activate the collider and start colliding. We'll know whether it's a dragon or a worm. Grandmaster Lin Qin, please." Elder Hu was dissatisfied with Lin Qin's evaluation of Jiang Tian's dragon scale dart. "Shouldn't you be degrading him? Natural Dao." "All right." Grandmaster Lin Qin's face turned serious. He patted his storage bag and 2 identical Dharma artifacts flew out. Collision launchers. The 2 colliding launchers, like heavy cannons, floated in the air and gradually distanced themselves from each other. Finally, they stood face to face at a distance of 1 kilometer. Under the command of Elder Hu, everyone retreated several kilometers. Yang Yuan even set up layers of defensive rune arrays around the 2 colliding launchers in case the magical equipment exploded and hurt the innocent. This was the first time for many cultivators to observe such a thrilling collision test. They couldn't help but look excited as they whispered to each other and discussed animatedly. "How many strikes do you think this young Master Zhang's darts can withstand?" 3 times at most. You can't even take it once. Do you know how hard the dragon-scale darts made by the craftsmen of Celestial Flame Sect are? That was a supreme-grade magic treasure. I've heard that someone once destroyed a spiritual-level flying sword with a Daybreak Flame Grandmaster's dragon-scale dart. It's too scary. Let's retreat further away. It's not as simple as bending, it's an explosion. Lin Qin flicked his fingers, and 2 darts were inserted into the nozzle of the collision launcher. He said in a clear voice, he announced loudly, "To maintain fairness, the launcher is now equipped with the same dose of explosive crystals. The speed is also adjusted to the same gear, 3 times the speed of sound. If you're still worried, you can check it." "That's unnecessary. We believe in Grandmaster Lin Qin. Hurry up and launch." Quite a few cultivators urged him loudly. Almost all the cultivators present were in the building foundation stage or above. They all had powerful spiritual senses. How could they fake it? "Let's hit it." With his hands behind his back, Elder Hu raised his chin high enough to touch the sky. He glanced at Jiang Tian from the corner of his eyes and sniffed. "Let this boy know what a real grandmaster of refining is." Yang Yuan crossed his arms in front of his chest, his face beaming with pride. He seemed to be looking at the launcher in the sky, but in fact, his mind was focused on Jiang Tian. When the shoddy dragon-scale darts were bombed, he didn't want to miss any of the shock, embarrassment, and shame on Jiang Tian's face. "Begin." Lin Qin activated his divine sense, causing the 2 colliding launchers to rumble and tremble. Many array patterns were activated simultaneously, flashing with dazzling light. The launcher compartment was scorched red by the rapidly burning crystals, exuding a terrifying wave of arcane energy. The 2 darts were also slowly rotating in the launcher compartment. Suddenly, whoosh! Whoosh! A ring of clouds appeared in front of the 2 darts and kept rippling. It was the sound barrier. The 2 darts instantly broke the sound barrier and kept accelerating, as if the surrounding space was being torn apart. Under the terrifying speed of 10 times the sound barrier, the distance of 1 kilometer was quickly swallowed. The 2 darts quickly collided with each other. Before everyone could hear the sound, they saw a colorful ball of light suddenly expand. Then, something was torn apart and shot out. The pieces hit the defense rune array, producing cracking noises. Until then, they finally heard the deafening sound of the collision, the sound of high-speed friction, and the sound of one of the darts exploding. "Ah, it's exploded." Young Master Zhang's darts didn't even survive 1 collision before they were blown apart by the real deal of the treasure's seafood pavilion. I wasn't wrong, was I? 1 collision and it would explode. That's too lame. I thought he was some expert with a unique skill. He could drive red fire, condense a furnace, and create a weapon with a thought. He was quite cool. What's the use of looking good? What's the use of fancy? Reality has proven that it was all a bluff. How can he be called a refiner? Bah! That's right. Although the dragon scale darts of our treasure's seafood pavilion are a bit hard, ordinary magical darts can at least withstand 3 to 5 collisions. Isn't it too shameful to explode in one collision? Jiang Tian's mysterious and unfathomable image collapsed in everyone's hearts. He was completely reduced to a person who only knew how to fish for fame. Ha! It exploded in one collision. It's even weaker than I thought. Oh, Yang Yuan bit his tongue hard to hold back his laughter as he looked at Jiang Tian's face. He didn't expect this madman to be so thick-skinned. There was no expression on his face at all. His eyes seemed to be polished from black crystals, shining brightly as he stared at the sky thoughtfully. Keep pretending. Keep pretending. I'm going to take my revenge and mock you. Oh, Yang Yuan was in high spirits and was about to mock him when 2 screams came from the sky. It was Lei Yongming. During the collision, some of the nail fragments hit the defensive array glyphs and bounced off, not far from him. Although the magical equipment was destroyed, the materials could be used again. He activated his true origin and raised his hand to grab the fragments. The purple gold frost iron used to make the darts was not easy to come by. Besides, it was his in the first place. He didn't want to waste it. What he didn't know was that the darts had accumulated a lot of heat during the high-speed rotation and collision. As if they were burning red, a string of blisters appeared on his fingers. Even though he was a building foundation stage cultivator, he couldn't withstand it when he was caught off guard. That was the reason why the first scream was heard. The second scream was because Lei Yongming discovered, to his horror, that the fragment on the ground was the bottom part of the dart. On the bottom part of the dart, there was a small line of words that read, "Made by the Treasure's Sea Tower." It was made by the Treasure's Sea Tower. Could it be that the darts that were blown apart during the high-speed collision were the dragon-scale darts of the Treasure's Sea Tower? No. They were the dragon-scale darts made by the craftsmen of the Celestial Flame clan. Lei Yongming was dumbfounded. He stood there in a daze and stared at the fragments of the dart in his hand. He even forgot the excruciating pain on his fingertips. His mouth was wider and wider. His tongue was shivering crazily inside his mouth, but he couldn't say anything. Fellow cultivator Lei, what's wrong? Many cultivators noticed Lei Yongming's strange behavior. They gathered around him or scanned him with their telepathic thoughts. Lei Yongming blinked his eyes. His Adam's apple moved, but he couldn't say anything for a long time. He could only point at the fragments of the dragon-scale darts with his thick and short fingers. Half a second later, everybody fell into the same state of shock and speechlessness as he did. They looked at each other. No one dared to believe what they had just seen. In their minds, the supreme and godlike grand craftsman of Celestial Flame had been defeated. He had been utterly defeated. Fellow cultivator Lei, you don't have to scream. The old man has already said that if the fake dragon-scale darts were broken, the old man would naturally pay you double. Mr. Hu flicked his sleeves and said casually. Humph, boy, now the result is out. Your dragon-scale darts have been broken. Are you convinced now? Now, it's time for you to lower your head and admit your mistake. Yang Yuan couldn't wait to slap Jiang Tian in the face. He flicked his sleeves and looked down at Jiang Tian condescendingly. At this time, someone suddenly looked at Mr. Hu and Yang Yuan sympathetically and said bitterly, Senior, you seem to have made a mistake. The broken darts are the dragon-scale darts of the Treasure's Sea Tower. As soon as he said this, the whole place fell into a dead silence. Yang Yuan and Mr. Hu's expressions were very interesting. As if they had been struck by lightning, they were dumbfounded and completely petrified. Chapter 1377. Boom! The entire city square, and even the First Plate Mountain, was shaken. Every cultivator within a 100-kilometer radius was quickly spreading the news. A dragon-scale dart made by a blacksmith with the surname Jiang smashed the dart made by the Celestial Flame Grandmaster. What? How is that possible? It's true. Grandmaster Lin Qin presided over the supersonic collision and smashed the dragon-scale dart made by the Celestial Flame Grandmaster. That young Master Jiang won. Doesn't this mean that his refining skills are better than the Celestial Flame Grandmaster? There's another blacksmith in the sect. More importantly, his refining fees are extremely low. Only twice the price of the materials. Let's go and take a look. In an instant, many cultivators were alarmed. Even the leaders of the major clans and sects on the 18 islands had all arrived. It could be said that the collision test that elder who instigated caused Jiang Tian's reputation to instantly soar, causing him to shoot to fame. What? We've lost. Yang Yuan's head buzzed. He was so embarrassed that his face flushed red, as if he had been slapped countless times. This is a supreme-grade magical equipment made by the Celestial Flame Grandmaster himself. How could it be smashed? Elder who also could not believe it. He felt that his worldview had been turned upside down. But when he saw many peerless cultivators on the islands appeared and tried to build a relationship with Jiang Tian, elder who felt that something was wrong. This kid was going to rise up. His refining fees were so low and his speed was so fast. It would definitely affect the business of the Treasure Seafood Tower greatly. Moreover, once the news of his crafting skills spread, the Treasure Seafood Pavilion would be forced into a desperate situation. This kid can't be left alive. Elder Hu and Yang Yuan looked at each other and saw the cold killing intent in each other's eyes. They had a tacit understanding. Is this young Master Jiang? I'm Qiu Zhe, the master of the 18 islands and the forefather of the Qiu family. Greetings, Grandmaster Jiang. At this time, streaks of rainbows flew down from the top of the 18 islands like supersonic fighter jets. The one in the front was an old man with white hair and white hair. He was dressed in luxurious clothes, and his dantian was vibrating violently. His aura was like a dragon. He didn't bring just one person with him. He even brought many of the city's upper echelons and young talents from his family. Seeing him arrive, many cultivators revealed looks of fear. They all bowed respectfully and consciously opened up a path for him. We can't kill him. Too late. Even Elder Hu and Yang Yuan showed a respectful expression. They bowed respectfully and wailed in their hearts. The news had spread so quickly that even the Qiu family's old ancestor had come personally. This brat now had a powerful backer, and it would not be easy to kill him. Although the Oceanic Treasures Pavilion was currently a large trading company second only to the Sea Viewing Pavilion and even had a Grandmaster Artificer backing it, it still couldn't be compared to the Lord of an Island and a City. The Lord of the Island and the Lord of the City both had a large number of troops. They had many Golden Core cultivators and Foundation Establishment cultivators. They had the advantage in numbers and possessed the strength to topple mountains and overturn seas. A single word from them was enough to destroy a trading company. Especially Qiu Zhe, who was a late-stage Golden Core cultivator and extremely powerful. He was an old ancestor overlord and was valued by Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King, who let him guard the 18 islands and control all living beings to protect Dragon Capital. Jiang Tian stood up and casually saluted. He said casually, I am Jiang Tian, an itinerant cultivator from overseas. Greetings, Lord of the Island. Grandmaster Jiang, can I take a look at the Dharma treasures you made? Qiu Zhe, the old ancestor of the Qiu family, exuded a powerful aura. His aura was vigorous and powerful. His every move was domineering and easy. Of course. Jiang Tian smiled. He was now doing business by relying on the door. How could he not be scrutinized? Good darts. Good darts. Qiu Zhe's true essence surged. He raised his hand and grabbed the dragon scale darts made by Jiang Tian. His eyes shone as his divine consciousness scanned the Dharma treasures, not missing a single detail. He was full of praise. Even the old ancestor of the Qiu family is praising it. Everyone was shocked. Even the Qiu family's upper echelons behind Qiu Zhe were shocked. They had never seen Qiu Zhe praise a Dharma treasure like that. Qiu Zhe was already a late-stage Golden Core cultivator and a veteran Golden Core cultivator. He was famous in the Dragon Gate world. Other than Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King, the two nascent soul heavenly lords, he could even be considered the leader of the remaining island lords. Someone like him had a vast amount of cultivation resources. He was knowledgeable and had countless spirit treasures. He probably even had a few true artifacts. He was very picky and picky. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was a top appraiser. Ordinary Dharma treasures could not catch his eye at all. But at this moment, he was praising a Dharma treasure so much. It was clear that this young Master Zhang's Dharma treasure was extraordinary. Qiu Zhe cupped his fists at Lin Qin and smiled. Grandmaster Lin Qin, can you see the problem with the Celestial Flame Sex artifact? I can't. Please enlighten me, old ancestor. Lin Qin bowed. Qiu Zhe was considered an old ancestor in this world. He was knowledgeable and had a keen eye. Perhaps Qiu Zhe was not as good as him when it came to artifact refinement. But Qiu Zhe's insight was not inferior to his. It was like how a senior gourmet might be better than a chef in terms of evaluating dishes. Casting dragon scale darts is indeed a consummate artifact refinement technique. But look at the fragments. When they are heated, there are slight differences in the furnace temperature. The uneven heating causes the internal structure to be unstable. If the internal structure is unstable, what's the use of covering the outside with more dragon scales? This is not a problem with the Celestial Flame Sex artifact refinement technique. It's because he's too arrogant and careless that he made this flawed dart. As for Grandmaster Zhang's dart, Qiu Zhe revealed a look of deep admiration as he said loudly, if I'm not wrong, it's the Nine Heavens artifact refinement technique that has been lost for thousands of years. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. That's right. It really is the Nine Heavens. Qiu Zhe was shocked. His eyes were dazed for a full 3 seconds before he came back to his senses and explained with a smile. This nail looks ordinary. It doesn't even have many dragon scales on it. However, there's a whole new world inside it. He said with deep emotion. The so-called Nine Heavens is to use 9 layers of hidden force to mix 9 layers of materials together. If this dart is split from the middle, you will definitely be able to see the 9 layers of structure from the inside to the outside, the 9 Heavens. One layer supports the other. It's soft with hardness and soft with hardness. It can definitely compete with the dragon scale dart. Moreover, Grandmaster Jiang is even calmer when he's refining. He's neither arrogant nor impatient. The control of the fire and the temperature are perfect. This dart has uniform density, precise dimensions, and no flaws at all. It's a top-notch item. It can be called a peerless dart. Wow! Everyone was shocked as they listened to him in a daze. They didn't expect that not only was Jiang Tian's refining process cool, but the treasures he refined were also very particular. The Nine Heavens technique, this time, even Elder Hu was shocked. He looked at Jiang Tian as if he was looking at a god. His face was full of shock. Perhaps others didn't know, so they weren't that shocked. But he had seen the Nine Heavens technique in an ancient scroll before. That technique was many times more profound than casting dragon scales. At this moment, Jiang Tian's image in everyone's mind was many times higher. He could even compete with the Celestial Flame Grandmaster. Countless people wanted to curry favor with him. As for Elder Hu, he could just stand aside. He wasn't even qualified to carry Jiang Tian's shoes. Grandmaster Jiang, why don't you join our Treasure Sea Tower? This old man will definitely meet the Tower Master, Fairy Lin Shirling, and the Celestial Flame Grandmaster in person. You will be greatly benefited. You are qualified to become the Chief Artifact Refiner. Elder Hu couldn't hold it in anymore. He bowed respectfully and extended an olive branch. Only by including Jiang Tian in the Treasure Sea Tower would they have one less powerful opponent and one more powerful helper. Otherwise, as the instigators of this matter, he and Ouyang Yuan would be severely punished by the higher-ups. Chief Artifact Refiner. Today, Grandmaster Jiang can be said to have a meteoric rise, reaching the heavens in one step. Everyone was shocked and looked at Jiang Tian enviously. The Treasure Sea Tower was the second largest trading company in the entire Dragon Gate world. Their chief artifact refiner had a very high status, second only to Elder Celestial Flame. He was comparable to the island master of a medium-sized island and was qualified to talk to the state preceptor, Sun Bojun. How could everyone not be envious? Just as Jiang Tian was about to agree. Suddenly, Qiu Zhe spoke. This old man is willing to invite Grandmaster Jiang to be the chief artifact refiner of the Qiu family. You can use 10 billion crystals every year and the materials in the Qiu family's treasury as you wish. This old man will be on the same level as you and call you brother. He will cultivate with you, verify each other's cultivation techniques, and climb the long path to immortality hand in hand. What do you think? Boom! Once this was said, everyone was shocked. Chapter 1378. It could be said that Qiu Zhe's offer was too generous. He was practically praising Jiang Tian to the heavens. Crystals and materials, these were secondary. Most importantly, they were brothers. That meant that Jiang Tian was like the second head of the family. In the entire 18 Disc Islands, he was second only to one person. The most ruthless point was that Qiu Zhe wanted to share cultivation techniques with Jiang Tian and cultivate together. This was equivalent to asking Jiang Tian to share the Qiu family's cultivation technique, which was equivalent to taking Jiang Tian as a disciple. However, he was also giving Jiang Tian face. He did not use the name of master and disciple to restrict Jiang Tian, but instead praised Jiang Tian to the heavens. Qiu Zhe was a veteran golden core cultivator, the patriarch of the Qiu family, the island master, and a grand perfected lord. Now that Jiang Tian had such a powerful backer, the benefits he could obtain were simply incalculable. Moreover, Qiu Zhe was also very smart. In everyone's opinion, Jiang Tian's cultivation should not be high. In fact, he was only at foundation establishment. What Qiu Zhe was offering was exactly what Jiang Tian lacked the most, to help him improve his cultivation. Old man, after reporting to the Tower Master, we can also offer the same conditions. Young Master Jiang, please give me some time, old man whose face was covered in cold sweat. Although he was afraid of Qiu Zhe's power, he still sent a telepathic message unwillingly. Hu Dedi, are you trying to steal him from me? However, his divine sense could not escape Qiu Zhe's detection. He immediately looked over coldly, and with a roar, his perfected lord aura erupted. There was no way old man who could withstand the aura of a golden core perfected lord. As if Mount Tai was pressing down on him, he bent his knees and knelt on the ground. His entire body trembled as he kowtowed repeatedly. City Lord, please calm down. I dare not. Everyone, Qiu Zhe, want this Grandmaster Jiang today. From now on, he can only forge artifacts for the Qiu family. No one else is allowed to touch him. Do you have any objections? Qiu Zhe snorted coldly. His domineering gaze swept over as he sent a telepathic message. The patriarchs, sect masters, and the leaders of the trading companies lowered their heads. Their eyes were filled with dread as they communicated with each other through their divine consciousness. We don't dare to compete. Everyone knew that Jiang Tian was a treasure. They all wanted to rope him in, but they did not dare to offend Qiu Zhe. Sigh, Qiu Zhe wants to imprison great craftsman Jiang. All the benefits I mentioned before, such as calling each other brothers, were all for outsiders to hear. At that time, the Qiu family will definitely squeeze this Grandmaster craftsman Jiang dry. In fact, he even wants to share his methods of refining artifacts with us. After all, he had just said that he wanted to communicate and learn from each other. He casually imparted a third-rate cultivation technique to you and then asked you about the method of refining weapons. Do you dare to refuse? A gentleman is innocent, but treasuring a jade ring gets him into trouble. Oh no. Oh no. It seems that in the world of cultivation, the strong are still respected. If you only have the means to refine weapons and your cultivation is low, you will still be crushed. At that moment, everyone suddenly came to a realization and could not help but feel some sympathy for Jiang Tian. Qiu Zhe did not think that Jiang Tian would dare to refuse. He casually cupped his fists at Jiang Tian and said unquestionably, "Great craftsman Jiang, please." "Perfected Lord Qiu, I'm an itinerant cultivator. I'm free and undisciplined like a wild crane. I can't stand being restrained. Forgive me for not being able to comply." Jiang Tian was neither servile nor overbearing. He was nonchalant. "What?" everyone exclaimed. Everyone was shocked and dumbfounded. They looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a dead man. He was only at the early stage of foundation establishment. In front of a golden core perfected lord, he was like an ant that could not withstand a single blow. "What?" Qiu Zhe was also stunned and surprised. "How dare you reject the Qiu family?" Suddenly, an early-stage golden core female cultivator stepped forward from behind Qiu Zhe. She had beautiful eyebrows and an ethereal aura. She was graceful and elegant. She was tall and slender, with curves in the front and back. She carried a long sword on her back and her beautiful eyes were full of power. She was full of valiance and murderous intent. Qiu Yinong, the eldest daughter of the Qiu family. Legend has it that she's not inferior to men. She successfully formed a golden core at the age of 30. Now, she's only 50 and she's already at the mid-stage golden core. Now, she's even under the tutelage of the ocean cover swordsman, Sun Bojun. In the future, she'll definitely control the 18 Pen Islands. She's as beautiful as a flower and is known as one of the top 10 beauties of Dragon Gate. She's even more famous than Xie Tingran. What a pity. She's ruthless and ruthless. She's one of the top 3 assassins under Sun Bojun. She's even killed some of the more experienced early-stage golden core cultivators. She's known as the Pan Island Witch. Many people clicked their tongues and communicated with the people around them using their divine consciousness. However, they all used a secret technique and did not dare to say it out loud. If the Qiu family heard it, they might be killed. Why not? Jiang Tian said casually and lazily. "I'm just an itinerant cultivator. I haven't received any benefits from your family and I'm not your slave. Do I need to listen to your orders? What kind of logic is that? You're courting death." Qiu Yinong's face turned cold. Her clear and beautiful eyes were filled with murderous intent that was not in harmony with her beauty. A flying sword moved by itself from the scabbard on her back and jumped up. Its cold light illuminated the void and sent chills down people's spines. It was about to fly towards Jiang Tian. This brat doesn't know his place. He's dead meat. Logic? In the world of cultivation, the strong are respected and the weak are ants. It's fair to bully the weak. His cultivation is not as good as hers and he still dares to disobey her orders. He can only be beheaded. What a pity. This young Master Jiang has reached the peak of refining, but he obviously hasn't experienced the world of cultivation. He doesn't know the cruelty of the world of cultivation. Everyone had different expressions. Some were mocking and disdainful, some were gloating, some were sighing regretfully, and some were watching the fire burn across the river with cold eyes. But very few people spoke up for Jiang Tian. Although there was order in the world of cultivation, order was only used to protect the strong. It was too common for the weak to be killed, enslaved, and trampled on. Good, good, good. This brat has been killed by the Qiu family. Our treasure seafood tower has one less strong competitor. Ouyang Yuan and Elder Hu looked at each other, revealing a gloating smile and snickering. Island Master Qiu, Miss Qiu, please spare him. At this moment, Lin Qin flew over and stopped in front of Jiang Tian. Sweating profusely, he bowed and cupped his fists, saying sincerely, Grandmaster Zhang's attainments in refining are extremely profound, and his methods are unfathomable. He alone can push the refining level of our entire world to an unprecedented height. It would be a pity to kill him. Whoever kills him will be a sinner of our world. What's there to pity about killing him? If he doesn't want to refine for the Chiu family, then he can't refine for others. We have to kill him. Chiu Inong's eyes were cold. Ancestral Master Chiu, Miss Chiu, please give me some time. I'm willing to persuade him to refine for the Chiu family. Lin Qin truly admired Jiang Tian too much. He was shocked and didn't want Jiang Tian to die like this, dying an unnatural death. Qiu Zhe, who had been as calm as water, finally showed a smile. Lin Qin, I believe you. I'll give you 3 days. With Master Craftsman Zhang's wisdom, he will make a wise decision. Then, he glared at Qiu Yinong and scolded, Yinong, you can't be too arbitrary and bully the weak. You're making a fool of yourself. Although the Chiu family is powerful, do we dare to call ourselves the #1 family of the Dragon Gate? If Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King came to bully you, how would you feel? Ancestral Master, I was wrong. Qiu Yinong quickly lowered her head and admitted her mistake. But in fact, she didn't admit her mistake at all. Her words were frivolous, and she rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian with disdain. All right. Master Craftsman Jiang, we'll take our leave first. We'll meet again. Qiu Zhe's expression was much colder. He cupped his hands and left with his family and subordinates. After the Chiu family left, many cultivators left Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian's stall became deserted. Ouyang Yuan and Elder Hu also shook their heads and flew into the seafood tower. In their minds, Jiang Tian was already a dead man. Even if he agreed to Qiu Zhe's request, he would only be a private blacksmith of the Chiu family and wouldn't compete with them. Lin Qin sighed. He walked up to Jiang Tian and said, Brother Jiang, this is reality. Your cultivation is too low and your connections are too shallow. You can only be trampled on. What do you think I should do? Jiang Tian didn't panic at all and asked with a smile. Go far away. Get to know other experts and get protection. You won't be able to survive in the 18 Disc Islands. Lin Qin smiled bitterly and shook his head. Jiang Tian smiled but didn't say anything. He could kill Qiu Zhe with one slash. He didn't even need to do anything. The true dragon by Zhe was enough to kill him. However, he came here to rescue Ao Jiao and kill top traders like Sun Bojun, or the Jade Lake cultivators. To put it bluntly, Jiang Tian's target wasn't him at all. In other words, he wasn't even qualified for Jiang Tian to kill him. Chapter 1379. Lin Qin scanned Jiang Tian's body a few times with his divine sense. Suddenly, his face turned even uglier. You're finished. It's hard to run even if you want to. Because he left a divine sense mark on you and can follow you all the way. Once you leave the island, he'll leave immediately. Brother Lin Qin, do you want to be their lobbyist? Jiang Tian took out a pot of thunderfire wine and handed it over. Lin Qin didn't put on airs. He didn't look like a cultivator, but more like a blacksmith. He sat down cross-legged in the open space beside Jiang Tian, took a sip, and praised, good wine. Brother, I won't hide it from you. It's too difficult for a blacksmith to survive in this world. In the end, the strong are respected. Blacksmithing is just making things easier for others. Lin Qin's eyes were filled with vicissitudes. My blacksmithing talent was revealed step by step. I kept making friends with the strong and gradually made a name for myself. In the end, I reached a certain balance where no cultivator would dare to provoke me. You're just too flashy. You revealed your blacksmithing talent and didn't make friends with the strong. That's why you were targeted by Qiu Zhe and couldn't do anything about it. If I'm not wrong, he's already sealed the news. The other island masters won't dare to snatch you. Besides, even if the news gets out, no one will dare to help you. Qiu Zhe is very strong, second only to Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King. He's the strongest among the sects and families on the 7 islands. But Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King won't stand up for you either. That's because they can get better spirit treasures and true weapons by working for the Jade Lake Billows world. They won't take you seriously. Brother, you're basically dead. So you're saying that I can only blacksmith for Chiu Zhe and even be imprisoned by them? Jiang Tian laughed. Unless you can forge a true weapon, or even a supreme grade one. That way, Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King will take a liking to you and make you work for them. Lin Qin said helplessly. But you still can't avoid the fate of making things easier for others. It's just that you'll have more freedom. I can forge a true weapon. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Oh my god, you're so powerful. Lin Qin's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He stared at Jiang Tian as if he was looking at a monster. In the Dragon Gate world, no one has refined a true treasure for thousands of years. Even in history, no one had been able to do it. Refining a true artifact, that was no longer the level of a grandmaster craftsman. But the legendary heavenly blacksmith. He hurriedly said, if that's the case, I can bring you to meet the giant Shark King or Sun Bojun. However, it might take some time. Jiang Tian understood. Even if Lin Qin was a famous craftsman in this world, he might be able to talk to Sun Bojun and the others. However, Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King no longer cared about them. After all, Hailan and Jade Lake's refining culture was more advanced, so they could be rewarded. Moreover, these two people were extremely cautious and their whereabouts were secretive. They wouldn't easily reveal themselves. Even if Lin Qin wanted to recommend him, it wouldn't be that easy. Ha, the experts you're talking about are nothing more than a matter of me blowing them up with one punch. Still, thank you, Grandmaster Lin. Even so, Jiang Tian still cupped his hands and thanked Lin Qin. Lin Qin was a kind person who didn't care about fame and fortune. In the cultivation world, people like him were as rare as pandas. I don't dare to call myself a grandmaster in front of you. If you don't mind, you can call me Brother Lin. Lin Qin said. Since you don't have any business, you can stay in my building for the next few days. During this time, I'll find someone to contact the giant Shark King and the others. Also, I can talk to City Lord Chiu and see if there's any hope that he won't imprison you. Jiang Tian nodded and followed Lin Qin to a courtyard on the First Plate Mountain and settled down. Brother Lin, do you know about the furnace auction that will be held at the Seaview Pavilion in a few days? Jiang Tian said with a smile. How do you know about the auction? Lin Qin was shocked. Wasn't Jiang Tian an itinerant cultivator? Moreover, his cultivation wasn't very high. The invitation to the furnace auction wasn't sent out casually. It was only sent to cultivators above the Golden Core realm. In fact, it was only invited to important figures such as the sect masters, family lords, city lords, and island lords. The news was extremely secretive. Even Sun Bojun requested that it not be spread. Otherwise, they would be killed. Because the furnace auctioned were all descendants of the Ao family or nobles. If the royal family tried to rescue them, it would be chaotic. I found out by chance. Jiang Tian smiled. I like refining, so I naturally want to buy some materials. I heard that it's a good place. Before this, I just wanted to earn money to get an entrance ticket. You're wrong. Lin Qin smiled bitterly. The entrance ticket to the Seaview Pavilion is indeed expensive. It's at least 1 billion crystal stones. But even if you get an entrance ticket, it doesn't mean you can participate in the furnace auction. The furnace auction is an invitation from a hero. Even my building of craftsmanship only received one invitation. He smiled and said, why don't you go in with my invitation? You just need to buy a few treasures for me. Jiang Tian shook his head and said, a gentleman doesn't take advantage of others. When the time comes, we'll go in together. I'll find a way to get an invitation. Okay, then you should rest first. You must have used a lot of energy today. I'll go talk to the Chiu family's patriarch Chiu Zhe. Lin Qin cupped his fists and got up to leave. Talk. I'm afraid it's useless. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly but didn't stop him. He nodded slightly and sat cross-legged in the room. About an hour later, a white essence chi hand suddenly descended from the sky and grabbed Jiang Tian like an eagle grabbing a chick. The true dragon patriarch was about to attack when Jiang Tian said, "Don't worry, I'd like to see who's attacking me." As the giant hand dragged him, the scenery in front of Jiang Tian changed rapidly. He traveled 100 miles in an instant and soon landed on an unknown island. Qiu Zhe greets Grandmaster Jiang. The Qiu family's patriarch walked out slowly. Behind him were several golden core overlords, each of whom was extremely powerful. The most eye-catching one was an unusually tall old man carrying a giant red gourd on his back. The old man's hair and beard were red. His dantian was rumbling and his red golden core was jumping. Fire-like true essence surrounded his body and he was like a giant furnace. He obviously practiced a fire-type cultivation technique and his golden core had reached the phenomenal success stage. His cultivation was close to that of a nascent soul cultivator. Except for the golden core overlords. There were dozens of foundation establishment cultivators next to him. They were all wearing black iron armor and holding heavy swords. They were the Qiu family's private soldiers and the top overlords among the guards of the 18 islands. "Qiu Zhe, what are you doing?" Jiang Tian remained calm. "I'm here for your artifact forging skills, of course." Qiu Zhe cracked a smile and said. "You're just a foundation establishment cultivator. You can't monopolize such a powerful artifact forging divine power. I have to make it public to benefit the thousands of cultivators in the Dragon Gate world. I've invited Grandmaster Qinyan here to discuss artifact forging with you and see if what you've learned is real or not." "I'm Qinyan. I've heard a lot about you." "Nice to meet you, fellow cultivator." The old man with the giant red gourd on his back smiled maliciously. "What if I don't?" Jiang Tian smiled. "That's easy." Qiu Zhe raised his hand and pointed at an old man beside him with a gaze as sharp as lightning. He smiled and said, "That's right. This is the sect master of the divine refining sect, Han Chen, perfected cultivator Han. He specializes in soul energy and has the strongest divine soul among the thousands of sects on the 7 islands. He's the best at soul searching. Do you think you can hide it?" Chapter 1380. Qiu Zhe smiled menacingly. Perfected cultivator Han might only be ranked in the top 10 in this world in terms of overall combat power, but in terms of divine sense, even the giant shark king Sun Bojun would have to admit defeat. "If you don't tell me, perfected cultivator Han will use a soul-searching technique to find out all your refining techniques." "But..." "City Lord Qiu, you're too kind." Han Chen, who was wearing a green Taoist robe, cupped his hands and said sinisterly, "To tell you the truth, the old man's soul-searching technique is extremely crude. If he's not careful, he'll make people go crazy and do things incorrectly, worse than pigs and dogs, and even destroy their souls. So, fellow Taoist Jiang, why don't you hand over all your refining techniques so that you won't have to suffer and the old man won't have to do it?" "Qiu Zhe, you want to rob me?" Jiang Tian laughed. "And you're quite well prepared. Someone will verify the authenticity and someone will search the soul. I thought that Qiu Yinong was quite ruthless, but who knew that you're even more vicious and hypocritical than him? No wonder. As the saying goes, if the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. I also considered imprisoning you and coercing you into refining for the Qiu family, but after thinking about it, I don't think it's appropriate." Qiu Zhe smiled. "You're too good at refining. Even the Celestial Flame Grandmaster isn't as good as you. One day, you'll shake the entire Dragon Gate. If I keep you in the Qiu family, other families and sects might covet you. It'll be endless trouble for me. The best way is for us to learn your refining skills ourselves. That way, you'll be free and we won't have any trouble." "Qiu Zhe, there's nothing wrong with your plan." Jiang Tian suddenly smiled. "But do you really think I'm that stupid? If I don't have the ability to protect myself, would I dare to reveal my refining skills so easily?" Aren't you a Foundation establishment cultivator? You're a golden core. Everyone was shocked. They suddenly understood, but it was already too late. A golden core is like an ant in my eyes. Jiang Tian took a step forward. Boom! The small island within a radius of 10 miles shook violently. An extremely vicious and fierce energy rose from Jiang Tian's body. A peak stage Foundation establishment cultivator, a golden core cultivator, a nascent soul cultivator, or even higher. It seemed to be endless, filling the sky in a blink. At this moment, he was like a primordial Tyrannosaurus that had awakened. An incomparably terrifying pressure was released from his body. Bang bang bang. Almost in the blink of an eye, the Chiu family's private soldiers and island guards couldn't withstand the violent pressure and exploded. Pieces of armor and weapons flew everywhere, and crystal-clear flesh rained down. Only a handful of cultivators at the peak of the late stage of the Foundation establishment stage could barely hold on, but they were already kneeling on the ground, trembling all over. Oh my God! What kind of monster did I provoke? How was this a weakling? What Foundation establishment? This was clearly a nascent soul stage-old monster. He's definitely not someone I can match. Qiu Zhe screamed in his heart. Qiu Zhe, you've misled me. This strength is probably 10 times more terrifying than Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King. The two perfected cultivators, Han Chen and Elder Flame, were also frightened. Jiang Tian's energy was too terrifying. It wasn't something they could withstand. Senior, this is a misunderstanding. Qiu Zhe had no intention of resisting at all. He only wanted to beg for mercy, but Jiang Tian wasn't going to be merciful. Whoosh! Jiang Tian waved his fingers, and a blade swept out like a knife cutting water, directly cutting Qiu Zhe in half. Then, he raised his hand and took the bloodied golden core, putting it into the sky-devouring demon gourd. Now, his golden core divine disc had already spun once. The gung metal divine body had evolved into the gung metal immortal body, and the gung metal golden core had formed the nascent soul. The gung metal brand on the divine disc had reached the level of condensing laws. Jiang Tian's divine disc spun, which was equivalent to a golden core evolving to the limit and forming a nascent soul. Coupled with the power of the divine body, even a nascent soul heavenly lord wouldn't be able to withstand one slash, let alone a late-stage golden core cultivator. Senior, the old man was also forced. If the old man didn't come, he would have been killed by Qiu Zhe, and the entire treasure seafood tower. Seeing this, perfected cultivator Morning Flame was so frightened that his body trembled. He couldn't help but kneel down, sweating profusely. Oh! Jiang Tian turned a deaf ear to his words and clapped his hands. A millstone-like gung metal palm condensed in the air as if it were made of divine gold. It was heavier than a 10,000-foot mountain, crushing everything in its path. No! Master Celestial Flame roared. His dantian rumbled and trembled. His golden core burned crazily. The red gourd jumped up and shot out endless flames. It burned the sky and wanted to melt Jiang Tian's golden gung palm. His red gourd also contained a kind of heavenly flame called the star flame. It was one of the 12 types of heavenly flames and was very famous. The fire was formed when the heavenly fire star fell. It was extremely hot and could destroy all Dharma treasures. It could be used to make pills, forge artifacts, or attack Dharma artifacts. With this fire seed, the Celestial Flame Grandmaster was able to gain great fame in this world, standing tall for hundreds of years without falling. But then, it was useless against the gung metal palm. Crack! Grandmaster Morning Flame was smashed into a pulp before he could even let out a cry. Even his golden core was shattered and his divine soul was turned into ashes. Jiang Tian didn't even need to use a second attack to deal with such a normal golden core cultivator. He could kill him with a breath. However, the fire in the red gourd didn't go out. It was still burning fiercely, twisting the air around and melting the rocks into lava. HM. Although it's not as good as the Red Sparrow True Fire, it's not bad. It can be used as food for the red sparrow golden core cultivators. Don't waste it. Take it. Jiang Tian raised his hand and grabbed the red gourd. He instantly erased the divine soul that had recognized him as its master. Then, he cast a spell and sucked in the many stars and flames. Mr. Jiang Tian, please don't kill us. We're sorry. The other golden core cultivators almost cried. They knelt on the ground and kowtowed, they didn't even have the courage to run away. They couldn't figure out Jiang Tian's level, but Jiang Tian killed the peak stage golden core grand perfected cultivator Jiang Tian as if he were an ant. So, Jiang Tian was a nascent soul heavenly lord. Run! Only Han Chen, who was scared out of his wits, thought that there was an opportunity for him to take advantage of when he saw Jiang Tian pack up the treasures. He used his movement technique and fled. The golden core perfected cultivators were extremely powerful. They were faster than supersonic planes. In the blink of an eye, he was already 100 miles away and was not far away from the 18 islands. He would be much safer once he reached the islands. He had carefully set up a few hiding spots that could hide him from the immortal will of a nascent soul heavenly lord. Oh my God, I was scared to death. I thought this was a good deal. Who knew that a foundation establishment cultivator would be a nascent soul cultivator? As he ran, he howled miserably in his heart, complaining incessantly. A few golden core cultivators dealing with a foundation establishment cultivator was like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. Besides, Qiu Zhe always had a good eye. He had never thought that he would be wrong. Besides, this guy was too powerful. He could kill golden core cultivators as easily as cutting grass. Did I say you could go? Suddenly, a cold voice sounded in front of him. Jiang Tian appeared like a ghost and blocked his way. Senior, please let me live. I know I was wrong. I'm willing to be your servant for the rest of my life to atone for offending a heavenly lord. Han Chen was aghast and turned pale with fright. There were a few golden core perfected cultivators on the island. He thought they could hold on for a while, but they couldn't even stop a few seconds. This guy was extremely powerful. Didn't you want to search my soul just now? Don't be shy. Come on. Jiang Tian waved his folding fan and said mockingly. You forced me to do this. Realizing that Jiang Tian wasn't going to let him go, Han Chen unleashed his immortal will, which turned into a sharp golden sword and attacked Jiang Tian's mind. His divine sense had already transcended the illusory and turned into reality. It was like refined steel that had been tempered 100 times. It was extremely condensed and sharp, and all physical and magical barriers were useless against it. His soul energy attack was unparalleled in the entire dragon sect and was as powerful as a nascent soul heavenly lord. He knew that even if he wasn't as strong as Jiang Tian in terms of overall strength, he might not lose if he attacked the latter's weakness with his strengths. Not bad for a golden core to be able to materialize your immortal will. However, you're way too weak compared to my immortal will. Jiang Tian revealed a mocking smile as he unleashed his soul-devouring spiritual sense. Boom! Soul devourers surged out of Jiang Tian's forehead like black tentacles. In an instant, they formed a soul devourer demon god with 9 horns on its head, bone spikes on its body, and 9 demon heads on its back. The immortal will soul-devouring fiend celestial was as tall as a mountain and its mouth was filled with white teeth. Fiend chi surged and its eyes were arrogant, filled with a cruel, vicious and terrifying aura. Without saying anything, it reached out with its scaly hands and grabbed the golden immortal will sword. What is this immortal will? Han Chen looked up at the immortal will soul-devouring fiend celestial that was 1,000 feet tall. He was so shocked that he even forgot to resist. Chapter 1381. Perfected cultivator Han Chen had never seen such a vast, violent and powerful immortal will. Not even the immortal will of a nascent soul heavenly lord could reach such a level. Crack! Han Chen's golden immortal will was crushed by the soul-devouring fiend god like a piece of paper. The moment it was crushed, it turned into pure soul energy and was absorbed by the soul-devouring fiend god, becoming an inseparable part of it. Ah! No! Senior, please give me a chance. Han Chen screamed and wanted to beg for mercy. But Jiang Tian ignored him. Then, the soul-devouring fiend god opened its mouth and absorbed all of Han Chen's immortal will, divine soul and other soul energy. Blood spurted out of Han Chen's 7 orifices like arrows and his body twitched violently. Then, his eyes turned white and his pupils dilated rapidly. In the end, he lost all signs of life and fell to the ground, turning into a stiff corpse. After taking out Han Chen's golden core, Jiang Tian looked in the direction of the 18 islands coldly. I originally planned to kill Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King and defeat the cultivators of the Jade Pool and Hai Lan world before settling the score with the traitors of the Dragon Sect. But you're actually so reckless, jumping out to court death. Fine, I'll fulfill your wish. Kill all of you and take down the 18 islands. By then, none of Sun Bojun's actions will be able to escape my eyes. Jiang Tian's figure flickered, and he disappeared from where he stood, flying towards the 18 islands. He was going to start a massacre. In the Chiu family's mansion on the 18th island of the 18 islands. The mansion was 1,000 acres large and it was located on a mountain, overlooking the entire 18 islands. A waterfall cascaded down around the mansion like a waterfall. Spiritual energy permeated the air like clouds and mist. Cranes soared among the clouds. Strange beasts at the building foundation stage resided in the water like adorable pets, occasionally revealing their extraordinary appearances. There were many tall palaces and giant trees in the mansion. There were also 9 winding corridors, carved beams and painted rafters. It was extremely luxurious and exquisite. Giant stone beasts about 30 meters tall lined up on both sides of the door. There were griffins, red ho, cheong chi, tiger dragons, li li. All of them looked ferocious and mighty. Above the mansion, numerous foundation establishment cultivators with powerful auras stood in the air, scanning their surroundings with vigilant gazes. Around the courtyard, there was a sentry every 5 steps, and a sentry every 10 steps. Every one of them had a vigorous aura, wore black heavy armor, and held long spears and sharp blades in their hands as they stood solemnly. All of this supported the island master's mansion with a vigorous aura and unparalleled might. At this moment, the Chiu family's upper echelons, the Oceanic Treasure House, the Divine Refining Sect, and the other families that were participating in the war were all gathered in a meeting hall. Jiang Tian had appeared out of nowhere and his origins were unknown. It was said that he was a cultivator who had come from the lower realms to seek refuge. But the Chiu family was still very cautious. In this operation against Jiang Tian, several of the great families and sects on the island had participated to ensure that nothing would go wrong. If they could get their hands on Jiang Tian's refining techniques, all the participating forces would be able to get a share of the profits and make a fortune. This wasn't a one-time deal, nor was it as simple as making a huge profit. Instead, it was something that could be used for generations to come. The Pan-Island Demoness, Chiu Yinong, who was dressed in black, sipped her fragrant tea and sat at the head of the table. Around her, the head of the Oceanic Treasure House, Lin Shiling, the Zongzi of the Divine Refining Sect, and the others were all jubilant as they waited for the good news. Below them, only Lin Qin lowered his arrogant head and kowtowed to the ground, begging with tears in his eyes. Miss Chiu, please be merciful and spare Grandmaster Zhang's life. I will definitely convince him to refine for you for free for 10 years. If he had agreed in the market, the Chiu family wouldn't have killed him. Now, it's too late for him to agree. Chiu Yinong said with disdain. A mere foundation establishment cultivator is as weak as an ant. In this chaotic world, it's hard for him to even protect himself. The fact that the Chiu family is willing to take him in and protect him is his good fortune. How dare he refuse in front of everyone? Isn't he courting death? He's just a mere foundation establishment cultivator. I can crush him with my bare hands. How dare he provoke the Oceanic Treasure House and City Lord Chiu? He deserves to die. The head of the Oceanic Treasure House, Lin Shirling, was a middle-aged woman in a palace dress. She snorted and said with disdain. This woman was gorgeous. Her skin was as smooth as jade, her waist was slender, and her breasts were bouncing up and down. She had a seductive figure and a pair of peach blossom eyes. No man, unless they were eunuchs, would be able to resist her fatal temptation. In fact, this woman was indeed famous in the Dragon Gate world. She was like a social butterfly. She was born seductive and was proficient in dual cultivation. Any man who dual cultivated with her would be completely conquered by her. It was said that even true monarch Cinder Flame had prostrated himself before her and was willing to serve her. Even the state preceptor, Sun Bojun, had an affair with her. Otherwise, his Seaview Pavilion would have destroyed the Oceanic Treasure House. More importantly, she was also a cultivator who had reached the early Golden Core realm. She could already be called a perfected lord. Lin Qin, stop talking nonsense. Otherwise, I'll kill you too. The junior sect master of the Divine Refining Sect, Han Sen, looked down at Lin Qin as if he was looking at an ant. That Jiang guy is just an ant. It doesn't matter if we kill him. His refining skills won't be lost. Instead, they will be developed in our hands. What's there to be sad about? Ha, Han Sen is right. Just as the important figures of the 18 islands were laughing out loud and Lin Qin was grieving, Lin Qin was laughing out loud. Clang! An earth-shattering explosion came from outside the mansion, accompanied by many screams and exclamations. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. Just as they were about to go outside to check, a sound like a dragon's roar pierced through the air. It rushed from outside the mansion to the meeting hall. In the blink of an eye, it arrived at the entrance of the hall. Bang! The gate, which was more than 20 centimeters thick and made of bronze and engraved with many runes, was kicked apart like paper. In the billowing dust and flying debris, a young man with black hair and black eyes walked in with his hands behind his back. He was holding a perfected foundation establishment cultivator in his hand like an eagle catching a chick. It was the leader of the Chiu family's consecrators. The leader of the Chiu family's consecrators had rich battle experience and could fight above his level. In terms of combat power, he was no weaker than a Golden Core perfected lord. Now, he was being held in Jiang Tian's hand like a dead dog. With a shake of his arm, he turned into a mist of blood. Jiang Gai. You're not dead. Where's my ancestral patriarch? Everyone had different reactions. Many cultivators looked at Jiang Tian as if they had seen a ghost. Qiu Zhe had brought a few Golden Core cultivators to capture him and interrogate him. Why was he in the Chiu family's mansion? Moreover, his aura was earth-shattering as he walked over. Even the entire mansion was shaking violently as if it was about to collapse. Although they could not see his specific cultivation level, it was definitely not to be underestimated. Qiu Yinong had a bad feeling in his heart. His face darkened as he stood up and stared at Jiang Tian warily. What's wrong? Are you surprised that I wasn't killed by Qiu Zhe? Are you unhappy? Jiang Tian said with a smile as he walked over with his hands behind his back. What nonsense are you talking about? How could my ancestral patriarch be dead? One of the Chiu family's upper echelons stood up, pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted angrily, Surnamed Jiang, stop right there. This is the Island Master's mansion, which rules over the entire 18 Disc Islands. It's not a place where you can behave atrociously. Is there a place in this world where I don't dare to behave atrociously? Jiang Tian sneered, not showing any mercy as he flicked his finger. A golden finger beam pierced through the person's skull, bringing with it a mist of blood and brain matter, killing him on the spot. Deputy Family Head Qiu. Everyone was shocked and furious. Although the deputy family head of the Chiu family's cultivation level was not the top, he was at the early stage Golden Core and had many protective Dharma artifacts on him. However, he could not even block Jiang Tian's finger. This kid was not at the foundation establishment level. He was clearly a Golden Core perfected cultivator. Seeing Jiang Tian's killing spree, the family head of the Chiu family stood up with a furious expression and questioned coldly. Jiang, how dare you? The Chiu family has more than 10 golden core perfected cultivators under us. We have dominated the 18 Disc Islands for hundreds of years and can mobilize 100 golden core perfected cultivators. Our prodigy, Chiu Yinong, is the personal disciple of the state preceptor, Sun Bojun. Even if you're not afraid of the Chiu family, the state preceptor has already reached the nascent soul level and is known as a heavenly lord. Do you really want to be enemies with the Chiu family even if you have to offend Sun Bojun? Noisy. Jiang Tian slapped down and smashed the family head of the Chiu family into meat paste. Chapter 1382. STTH. At that moment, Han Sen, Lin Shirling, and the other golden core cultivators were so shocked that they gasped. Even Chiu Yinong was so shocked that her delicate body trembled. She subconsciously took a step back, her eyes filled with fear. The leader of the Chiu family had received 80% of ancestral patriarch Chiu Zai's teachings and was a mid-stage golden core cultivator. He would even take over Chiu Zai's position as island lord in the future. And yet, he was still killed by Jiang Tian as if he were an ant. That was too terrifying. I didn't expect you to be a late-stage golden core grand perfected cultivator. Lin Shirling walked up to Jiang Tian with light steps. She said in a coquettish voice, "Why are you here? Our previous actions have indeed offended your excellency. But all of this is just a misunderstanding. Elder Chen Yan was jealous of you, so he colluded with Chiu Zai to make you his enemy. He had a death wish. My seafood pavilion will definitely not pursue you." "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Lin Shirling. Senior, you might not know my identity. I'm just the head of the Ocean Treasure Tower. I'm the special envoy of the State Preceptor Sun Bojun and also the person in charge of the preparation of the State Preceptor Sun Bojun. I'm here to find talents in the entire Dragon Gate area to be loyal to the State Preceptor Sunday, and a talent like Grandmaster Jiang is what the State Preceptor wants the most. As long as Grandmaster Jiang is willing, he can join the State Preceptor Hall and be in charge of making artifacts. He can even help you reach the nascent soul level." When she said this, everyone's eyes lit up and they were filled with envy. Nascent soul level. That would be enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with the State Preceptor and the Giant Shark King. They would be at the top of the world and could even suppress Chiu Zai. Only Chiu Yinong was angry and unwilling. She wanted to refute Lin Shirling, but she held herself back. Good. Lin Shirling is begging him so softly and tempting him with benefits. He'll definitely let his guard down. Chiu Yinong thought coldly in his heart. That's when I decided to go all out and kill the enemy in one strike. If you've said enough, you can die now. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Jiang Tian remained unmoved, and his face turned cold. What? This kid's killing intent is so deep. Lin Shirling was shocked, but in the next moment, she smiled, revealing a seductive look. She bowed to the ground and said in a sweet voice, "Perfected cultivator Jiang, I'm not married yet. If Grandmaster Jiang is willing to spare my life, I'm willing to marry Grandmaster Jiang. The billions of assets of the Treasure Ocean Pavilion and more than 90 branches will all belong to you." At this moment, she was using her seduction technique. Her pair of peach blossom eyes rippled like waves, as gentle as water. She was actually like a blooming flower, emitting an alluring body fragrance that refreshed the heart, made one's face heat up, made one's heart beat faster, and made one go crazy. After she knelt down, her slender waist bowed deeply, and the chest of her palace dress naturally fell, revealing a touch of extremely alluring white depth. 2 round and smooth curves appeared on her high-raised buttocks, like a large peach that was ready to be plucked. Even a cold-hearted killer or an eminent monk with a heart as dry as a well would not be able to resist such a tempting scene. Moreover, the conditions she proposed were too generous. The Treasure Ocean Pavilion had countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures, divine weapons, and cultivation techniques. It was as vast as the sea. Crystals and precious metals were piled up like mountains. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was as rich as a country. Any cultivator who obtained it would be able to ascend to the extreme and reach the sky in a single step. Who could resist such temptation? Even Lin Shirling was full of confidence that Jiang Tian would not reject her proposal. He would even go crazy for her. Damn, why are all these women so ignorant nowadays? Are they all coveting my beauty? Jiang Tian looked up at the sky and sighed. He was extremely depressed and said, "Is being handsome also a sin?" His words were mocking, but his eyes were endless coldness, as if they were hanging high in the sky. His eyes were full of disdain, as if Lin Shirling was just an ant in front of him, just a bitch. Oh no! Lin Shirling's heart skipped a beat, and her heart fell into the abyss. Her body rose into the air, and her palace dress fluttered in the air. She was like a fledgling phoenix soaring in the sky, about to fly away and escape. You can't run away. Jiang Tian coldly snorted and raised his hand. Boom! Lin Shirling only felt the void solidify, and the space in front of Jiang Tian's palm suddenly solidified, turning into an iron plate. She felt as if there were huge mountains pressing down on her from all directions, and she could not even move a finger. Even when she burned her golden core, her Dharma form couldn't be unleashed. In the end, even her golden core was quickly extinguished. Her boiling true essence was completely frozen. She couldn't even display the slightest bit of her heaven-piercing cultivation. A forbidden region. I've only seen such a forbidden region when Sun Bojun attacked. Are you a nascent soul heavenly lord? Lin Shirling was terrified. She had only seen such a divine power that could control the laws of space, and she had only seen it from Sun Bojun, the heavenly lord of the ocean. Only a nascent soul cultivator could do such a terrifying thing. But in the Dragon Gate world, there were only two heavenly lords in history, Sun Bojun and the giant shark king. Even the famous ancestral patriarch of the true dragon sect, who dared to go against the ruins emperor a few thousand years ago, failed to enter the nascent soul level. And even though Sun Bojun and the giant shark king had entered the nascent soul level, they couldn't cast the forbidden region every time. At this moment, her intestines were turning green from regret. If she knew that Jiang Tian's strength was so terrifying, she wouldn't have listened to her suggestion to work with the Chiu clan and oppose Jiang Tian even if she had to grind her mouth until it was broken. He was a nascent soul heavenly lord. Nascent soul? Just trash. I don't know how many I've killed. Jiang Tian smiled and tapped the sky-swallowing demonic gourd at his waist. The nameless flying sword flew out calmly and was about to behead her. Please spare me, perfected cultivator. I can support you to kill Sun Bojun and the giant shark king and become the ancestral patriarch of this world. Lin Shirling screamed. Unfortunately, I hate it when women covet my beauty. I'll give Sun Bojun a gift for cutting off a beauty's head. Jiang Tian smiled and looked emotionless. The nameless flying sword circled around her slender, snow-white neck and beheaded her. Then, Jiang Tian grabbed her bloody golden core and countless flying swords shot out, turning her into a bloody mess. Then, he took her divine soul and golden core. Countless flying swords, along with a bloody mist, swept across the area like iron dragons. Short and mournful screams rose and fell one after another, joining together into one. A moment later, the entire hall was filled with broken limbs and blood. The bloody mist spread in the air and didn't disperse for a long time. None of the senior members of the families and sects who were involved in the kidnapping of Jiang Tian escaped. They were all killed. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Qiu Yinong's teeth were chattering and she was trembling in fear. Only a minute had passed since Jiang Tian came in and dozens of golden core perfected cultivators were killed, but it felt like a century to Qiu Yinong. She wanted to attack countless times during that time. However, when she saw Jiang Tian use the forbidden zone, she was completely desperate. She looked at Jiang Tian in horror as if she had seen a demon. This refugee from the Tsanglan world is a nascent soul heavenly lord. How is that possible? She couldn't believe it. However, she also felt the power of Jiang Tian's forbidden zone. She had never sensed such a divine ability from any Gold Core Realm cultivator before. If he wasn't a nascent soul heavenly lord, what was? I'm really blind this time. Why did I provoke a nascent soul heavenly lord? I'm doomed. Qiu Yinong was extremely regretful. No wonder he dares to challenge the Qiu family. No wonder he's so arrogant. It turns out that he's a nascent soul heavenly lord. Lin Qin had been dumbfounded since the beginning. He had never thought that Jiang Tian would be so powerful. At this moment, he suddenly recalled Jiang Tian's bold words. What did he say about crushing those great figures with a single punch? At that time, when he heard about it, he felt that Jiang Tian was exaggerating. Only now did he know that Jiang Tian really had such strength. However, Qiu Yinong was startled and her face turned pale. Why didn't he kill me? Does he want to humiliate me because I'm beautiful and beautiful? Thinking of this, she took a step back. She held the sword with one hand and covered her chest with the other. Jiang, don't even think about touching me. I won't do it. If you dare to force yourself on me, I'll explode my meridians and kill myself. You think too highly of yourself. You're even worse than a bitch in my eyes. Jiang Tian stepped in the pool of blood and said with disdain, I didn't kill you because you're still useful. What do you want? Qiu Yinong was ashamed. She was slightly startled and exclaimed. Your ancestral patriarch and patriarch are dead. If Sun Bojun and Giant Shark King ask, how are you going to report it? Jiang Tian turned from a guest to a host. With his hands behind his back, he leisurely strolled to the throne where the Qiu family's old ancestor, Qiu Zhe, sat down lazily and looked down at Qiu Yinong as if he was looking at an ant. Chapter 1383. The people Jiang Tian killed today were all important people on the 18 Island. Even if Jiang Tian didn't cause much of a commotion, Sun Bojun would still know about it. Then, he needed a suitable explanation. Otherwise, Sun Bojun and the others would be alerted and change the location of the cauldron auction. And the person who could give a reasonable explanation was Qiu Yinong. Because she was Sun Bojun's disciple and he trusted her the most. How do you want me to report? Qiu Yinong said coldly. Qiu Zhe, Chen Yan, Lin Shirling, Han Chen, and the others colluded with the royal family. They planned to rescue Ao Jiao and kill Sun Bojun at the cauldron auction. After you found out, you killed them without hesitation. Jiang Tian said calmly. You're not going to run away. Qiu Yinong wasn't stupid. She suddenly realized something and asked in shock, you're setting up an ambush. You're going to ambush my master. That's right. Jiang Tian smiled lazily and said. Not only Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King, but also the cultivators from Jade Lake and Hai Lan. I'll kill them all. What's your level? Nascent soul. Maybe I'm just a golden core cultivator. What's wrong? Jiang Tian asked calmly. You're crazy. You're crazy. Qiu Yinong stared blankly for a long time before shouting hysterically at Jiang Tian as if she had gone mad. In her opinion, Jiang Tian was crazy. In fact, she thought that Jiang Tian could use a secret art, but he definitely wasn't a nascent soul cultivator. Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King had both entered the nascent soul level a few years ago. The key point was that there were many peerless powerhouses from the Jade Lake and the Ocean Billow world standing behind them. After Jiang Tian killed the Qiu family, he should have fled thousands of miles away. Who would have thought that he would stay and ambush them? However, she certainly wouldn't persuade Jiang Tian. She hated Jiang Tian to the core. Jiang Tian killed almost all the senior members of the Qiu family who were above the golden core level. These people were all her close relatives and had provided her with countless resources for her cultivation. How could she not hate them? At this moment, she wanted nothing more than to cut Jiang Tian into 1,000 pieces. However, her cultivation and strength were inferior to Jiang Tian's, so there was nothing she could do. Humph. Just wait for my master and the giant shark king to arrive. You'll be killed. When the time comes, I'll whip your corpse. Qiu Yinong thought angrily, and had no choice but to follow Jiang Tian's instructions and report the matter to Sun Bojun through a sound-transmitting magical tool. Logically speaking, this matter also made sense because when the two sides were fighting, there were many spies who had surrendered to the other side. Subsequently, Qiu Yinong announced to the whole island that a portion of the Qiu family's members, Oceanic Treasure's House, and Divine Refining Sect had betrayed Sun Bojun. She had already suppressed them with force and killed all of the traitors. From today onwards, she would be the island master of the 18 plates, overseeing the entire island. As for the Oceanic Treasure House, the Divine Refining Sect, and the other families involved, they didn't dare to resist. These forces had already submitted to Sun Bojun, and they were just a bunch of cowards with low cultivation. How would they dare to resist? They were just surprised. I didn't expect Qiu Zhe, Lin Shirling, Grandmaster Qin Yan, and Han Chen to be traitors. They hid it well. Many of the cultivators sighed with emotion. Then, with the attitude that this matter had nothing to do with them, they forgot about it. Not many people knew about Jiang Tian's killing. When he rushed into the mansion, he had already set up layers of restrictions, so no news could be transmitted out. Coupled with Qiu Yinong's cooperation, Jiang Tian had become the house master of the Oceanic Treasure's house. Grandmaster, please spare us. We have offended you 2 days ago. Please punish us. When Jiang Tian entered the main building as the house master of the Oceanic Treasure's house, Grandmaster Appraiser who rushed over to beg for forgiveness. He was so frightened that he knelt on the ground, tears and mucus flowing down his face as he kowtowed. Yang Yuan wasn't there. He only found out after asking. When he heard that Grandmaster Qin Yan and Lin Shirling had been executed and that Jiang Tian had become the house master, Yang Yuan couldn't bear the fear and exploded his meridians, committing suicide. Jiang Tian didn't care about these ants. His target had never been them. He waved his hand and dismissed Grandmaster Hu. Thus, Jiang Tian stayed in the main building of the Oceanic Treasure's house. He listened to music and drank wine, living a carefree life. Every day, he would interrogate Qiu Yinong, beat her up, and search her soul. He had dug out all of Sun Bojun's arrangements. No one would have thought that Qiu Yinong, the direct disciple of Sun Bojun, who had shocked the 18 islands and played an important role in the Dragon Gate world, would be trampled on and humiliated like an ant by Jiang Tian. She was not even comparable to a servant, suffering pain and fear. You with the surname Jiang, I'll let you be arrogant for a few more days. When Sun Bojun and the giant shark king arrive, they will tear you into pieces. On this day, Qiu Yinong was beaten to a pulp. She gritted her teeth and glared at Jiang Tian with hatred. However, she didn't dare to send a message to Sun Bojun. This was because Jiang Tian had planted a soul devourer's divine sense in her sea of consciousness. Her every move, even her thoughts, were under Jiang Tian's control. However, Jiang Tian's carefree days didn't last long. Soon, he received an invitation. The auction for the cultivation furnace will be held tonight at the Sea Viewing Pavilion. Imperial Preceptor Sun Bojun has invited many famous clans. I'm also invited. Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Finally, it was time to start a massacre. Jiang Tian was now in charge of the Oceanic Treasure's house, the second largest trading company in the world. His status was extremely high. Moreover, he had been recommended by Qiu Yinong. Sun Bojun wanted to use him, so of course he would be invited. At dusk, the sea viewing pavilion was already brightly lit. Countless butlers and maids came and went like butterflies in the crowd. Jiang Tian brought Xia Yan, Long Yanan, and Elder Hu, who he had used a secret technique to change their appearances. They were dressed in black robes and held a folding fan in their hands. They looked elegant and unrestrained as they floated over. As for Bai Zhe, Patriarch True Dragon, and Zhang Qianlei, they were scattered. They hid in the dark and supported Jiang Tian. Sun Bojun stood behind the sea-viewing pavilion. His aura was so powerful that it could even suppress the island master's residence. With the help of the powerful magic formation, numerous shining and magnificent palaces floated in the air above the highest peak of the island, overlooking the entire 18 islands and thousands of miles of blue ocean. They looked like the palaces of immortals, cities in the sky. Between the jade palaces, there were wide paths paved with dazzling jade slabs. Many guests could pass through freely. The level of refining weapons in the Dragon Gate world was very low. However, the sea-viewing pavilion was built with the support of High Lawn and Jade Lake. The level of refining weapons displayed here was amazing. It was far superior to the Oceanic Treasures House and even the original Cape Trading Company. You're really stubborn. I tried to persuade them time and time again. In the end, they still came to die. Jiang Tian appeared at the bottom of the jade path. Suddenly, he saw a few familiar faces. He could not help but shake his head and smile bitterly. He saw Xia Tingran and Xiao Qingtan, who were both wearing the lowest level of maid attire. They were welcoming and guiding the guests happily. Xiao Bing used a secret technique to change his appearance and disguised himself as a guard. He wore low-level armor and held a long spear. He was standing guard beside a building. In addition, there were Qin Shangcheng, Shui Qiancheng, and many other loyal Golden Core and Foundation establishment cultivators. It seemed that they had used their connections to sneak into the sea-viewing pavilion. When Ao Jiao was auctioned, they wanted to rescue her. In next to no time, Xia Tingran and Xiao Qingtan noticed Jiang Tian as well, and their faces couldn't help but go pale. They quickly walked over and berated in a low voice, "Young Master Jiang, Senior Xia Yan, what are you two doing here? Didn't I say it on the island? I want to rescue Princess Ao Jiao." Jiang Tian said with a smile through his divine sense. You still want to be a hero at this time. You want to win my favor. You are a toad who wants to eat swan meat. Stop dreaming, I won't like you. I only love Brother Xiao Bing. I will never change my mind. Xia Tingran was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Her face was cold and she said coldly, "Do you know that you've only come here to die? There are so many golden core cultivators here. There will even be nascent soul cultivators and nascent soul cultivators. Even if you want to die, don't drag my patriarch with you. Patriarch, ask him to get out of here." Over the past few days, Xia Yan had felt that Jiang Tian was not ordinary. His face changed greatly and he said through his divine sense, "Tingran, don't be rash. Young Master Zhang's strength is not something you can imagine. Go and tell Brother Xiao that we will listen to his arrangements for today's operation." What? Patriarch, you are crazy. He has no cultivation at all. Xia Tingran could not believe it. Jiang Tian stopped Xia Yan, who wanted to explain, and said lazily, "You seem to be thinking too much. I am here for Ao Jiao. It has nothing to do with you." What? Who do you think you are? How dare you covet Princess Ao Jiao? Hearing this, Xiao Qingtan said with disdain, "She is my brother's woman, the future imperial concubine. You are not worthy." Chapter 1384. Jiang Tian smiled helplessly and said, "What does it have to do with you who I covet? In short, an arrogant and unruly woman like you can't enter my eyes. Get out of the way, a good dog doesn't block the way." What did you say? Xiao Qingtan's beautiful eyes widened and her full chest heaved up and down violently. She was, after all, the daughter of a military family. Her talent was outstanding, and her cultivation was extraordinary. She was also one of the top beauties in the Dragon Gate world. Normally, countless young men would try to curry favor with her, but now, she was being insulted by Jiang Tian. Xiao Qingtan wanted to lose her temper and beat Jiang Tian up, but Xia Tingran knew that they couldn't reveal their cultivation to attract attention. She pulled Xiao Qingtan behind her and stretched out her hand. "Jiang, do you think it's so easy to enter the Seaview Pavilion? You need 10 billion crystal stones to buy an entrance ticket and an invitation letter written by Sun Bojun himself. Her face was full of mockery as she looked down at Jiang Tian like he was an ant. Jiang Tian was just a refugee from the Kanglan world. He was like an ant in this place. How could he get these? If you don't have an invitation letter but stay at the entrance and disturb the members and guests of the Seaview Pavilion, that's a capital offense. You'll be killed without mercy. She waved at a guard. The guard also sensed that something was wrong and flew over as if he was about to attack. At this moment, above the passageway, a gorgeous woman in red walked over quickly and bowed deeply. She said in a sweet voice, "Is this the new owner of the Seafoam Tower, Jiang Tian, Grandmaster Jiang?" "What? The new owner of the Seafoam Tower?" Xiao Qingtan and Xia Tingran looked at each other in disbelief. They didn't expect Jiang Tian's position to be so high. It had only been a few days, and he had become the owner of the second largest business in the world. "That's right. It's me." Jiang Tian cupped his hands, but he noticed that Long Yanan's sleeves were trembling. She was obviously very excited. Ha, it should be Long Yanan's old friend from the Sea Wave world. Could it be her sister, Long Xingnan? Jiang Tian's heart stirred as he looked at the woman with a smile. This woman had a youthful complexion, like a budding flower, but her figure was very hot. Her appearance was gorgeous and charming that didn't match her age. Her skin was like ice and her bones were like jade, and her beauty was peerless. She had obviously suppressed her cultivation and appeared to be only at the gold core realm. But in reality, she had already formed her nascent soul. "I am Long Shui, the shopkeeper of the Seaview Pavilion. Welcome, Grandmaster Jiang, to the auction. Your presence brings light to our humble dwelling and makes us feel extremely honored." The red-clothed girl laughed coquettishly. She was very experienced in dealing with people, just like an old monster. "Hee, I wouldn't dare to say that I'm a grandmaster. I only know some basic refining techniques," Jiang Tian said with a smile. "Young master, you're too modest. Even Miss Chiu Yinong couldn't stop praising your skills in refining. I hope that we can communicate more with each other in the future so that the Sea Viewing Pavilion can also benefit from your help in refining." Long Shui said in a tender voice, "Young master, this way please. VIP number 1, please come up. We've prepared a seat for you. Does Miss Long really welcome me? Why didn't I notice it?" Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and pointed at Xiao Qingtan and Xia Tingran arrogantly. "These two maidservants offended me with their words just now. They were very disrespectful and treated me like an ant. They wanted me to. I want to turn around and leave." "That's right. They wanted to call the guards to attack you just now. They're simply courting death. Old fox who exaggerated. Is that really so?" Long Shui's pretty face turned cold and her eyebrows raised. Her beautiful eyes flashed with murderous intent. Slap. She slapped Xiao Qingtan's face and shouted angrily, "You dog. You have eyes but can't see. How dare you disrespect young Master Jiang? Are you courting death? Kneel down and apologize to young Master Jiang. Otherwise, I'll skin you alive." Xiao Qingtan staggered and blood spurted out from the corner of her mouth. Her pretty face was full of murderous intent as she stared at Jiang Tian with fire in her eyes. However, Xia Tingran suppressed her anger. She pulled on Jiang Tian's sleeve and knelt down in front of him. She apologized and said, "We didn't know Grandmaster Jiang's identity. Please forgive us for offending you." She was cruel and merciless when teaching her subordinates a lesson. However, Long Shui smiled in front of Jiang Tian. She bowed deeply and said softly, "Young master, please forgive us. These two were just recruited. They are clumsy and don't know your face. They didn't mean to offend you." "Then let's go. Tonight, I'll let these two serve me." Jiang Tian smiled wickedly and walked away. "You. What did you say?" Xiao Qingtan and Xia Tingran were so angry that they almost vomited blood. They didn't expect Jiang Tian to be so shameless. If young Master Jiang doesn't mind their stupidity and filth, there's no problem. Long Shui smiled and said, they're just two low-level maids. For young Master to take a fancy to them, it's their fortune. Young Master, please enjoy. Young Master Jiang is protecting you. Xia Yan used his divine sense to persuade them, but the two girls didn't listen at all. Ao Jiao hasn't appeared yet, so we can't make a move. When we make a move, we'll take advantage of the chaos and kill this Jiang guy. He has obviously surrendered to Sun Bojun. This bastard won't expose our actions, right? He shouldn't. I'm still on your side. If he has really surrendered to the enemy, my family's ancestor will definitely inform us. The two girls had their own thoughts. They hated Jiang Tian so much that the roots of their teeth itched. They also despised him and were a little confused. The pavilions in the air were arranged in picturesque disorder, floating around a platform. This platform was where the auctioneer called out the price. In the surrounding floating pavilions, there were seats that were arranged in a row, forming a hall. As for Jiang Tian's sky floating pavilion, it was even more extravagant and grand. There were many pavilions in it. There were also layers of restrictions in this box that isolated sound and divine sense. Even so, there were still some people wearing masks to hide their identities. Today's cultivation cauldron auction was no small matter. There were many priceless cultivation resources and even cultivation cauldrons of the true dragon bloodline. Most of the customers naturally didn't want to expose their identities and cause unnecessary trouble. Young Master, this is the VIP box arranged for you. After leading Jiang Tian to a pavilion box, Long Shui bowed and said, if you need anything, just look for me. Okay, you go first. Jiang Tian nodded. Long Shui waved her hand and called a maid from outside the door, saying, this is the maid in the box. Her name is Lan Xinglong. If young Master needs anything, you can also look for her. After saying that, she took her leave. Jiang Tian keenly noticed. As soon as the woman came in, Long Yanan hurriedly stood up. Her mouth opened a few times, but she hesitated and sat down again. This woman's tall and slender figure was extremely impressive. She was curvaceous and extremely hot. Moreover, she was even more mature than Long Shui. Her skin was fair, her eyebrows were picturesque, and her face was beautiful. She bowed and said, I'm Lan Xinglong. Greetings, Grandmaster Jiang. Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense and understood. He laughed and said frivolously, you're quite beautiful. You're quite pretty. Can you dance? Dance for me. If you dance well and suit my taste, I'll take you as my concubine in the future. I'll pamper you 7 or 8 times a night. Young Master, you must be joking. I'm just an inferior servant. I only know how to do some rough work like serving tea. I know nothing about music, chess, calligraphy, painting, singing, dancing, and poetry. Lan Xinglong was stunned. She was so scared that her face turned pale. She took a few steps back, revealing a touch of shyness and smiled bitterly. Trash. Lecherous wastrel, flashy and greasy. Disgusting. Seeing this scene, Xiao Qingtan and Xia Tingran despised Jiang Tian to the extreme. They protected Lan Xinglong behind them like old hens protecting their chicks. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was almost a lecherous demon. So what if I'm a lecherous wastrel? I'll take you as my concubines later. Jiang Tian first smiled frivolously, then glared at Lan Xinglong and scolded, you don't even know how to dance. Useless thing, get out of here. Yes. I'll take my leave. If you need me, please call me again. Lan Xinglong bowed as if she had been pardoned and stepped out step by step. Silence was restored in the box. Jiang Tian raised his hand and set up a restriction to isolate divine sense. Xiao Qingtan and Xia Tingran seemed to be disgusted by Jiang Tian. They bowed and cupped their fists and said, Grandmaster Jiang, we'll take our leave first. If you call us again, we'll come again. Tonight, the heroes have arrived. Killing intent is everywhere. If you want to live, then stay in this box obediently. Jiang Tian took out the Thunderfire wine and took a sip. He played with the wine pot and sighed leisurely. If a war breaks out, the first to die will definitely be you. Xiao Qingtan said disdainfully. I don't know what methods you used to deceive Sun Bojun and make him respect you so much. But you have to understand that a person like him will definitely make you pay back 10 times the benefits he gives you now. At that time, if you can't pay him back, he will definitely kill you. I advise you not to wait until the day you are exposed. Run far away now. Chapter 1385. Xia Tingran snorted and left with Xiao Qingtan. Xia Yan wanted to stop them, but he couldn't. Jiang Tian chuckled and shook his head. At this point, he had already done all he could. His final persuasion was also for Xia Yan's sake. Besides, Xia Tingran and Xiao Qingtan were just fighting for power. They weren't good people. He wasn't a saint, so there was no need to say more. Silence was restored in the room. Only Xia Yan sighed heavily. But he didn't dare to go out and contact Xiao Bing. He would alert the enemy and expose himself in advance. Moreover, Jiang Tian had said all the good things, but Xia Tingran and the others didn't listen at all. They were doomed to die tonight. In the silence, Jiang Tian suddenly raised his hand and set up a layer of restriction. He asked, Long Yanan, Long Shuer is your sister's servant, right? How did you know she's my sister's servant? Long Yanan was shocked and couldn't believe it. Long Shuer was very beautiful and sexy. And she was very considerate along the way. She respected Jiang Tian to the extreme. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely be charmed by her and fall in love at first sight. But Jiang Tian was vigilant and even guessed her identity. You don't know. I'm the ancestor of scheming. If they want to scheme against me, it's like showing off in front of Guan Yu. Jiang Tianzong laughed wildly, his murderous intent filling the air. Who is she? Tell me, or I'll kill you now. Jiang Tian shouted. She's my sister's servant. But in fact, her cultivation is about the same as my sister's. It's just that she's a branch of the Drake bloodline. Long Yanan's face was as white as paper. Jiang Tian had already detected many ambushes, but he still sat there calmly. Could it be that he was 100% sure? Yes. Jiang Tian nodded and laughed. Your sister's name is Long Xingnan. She's Lan Xinglong, right? She's now vigilant and thinks that I'm wary of her. I'm afraid she's going to start a new show to make me lower my guard. Long Yanan was puzzled. Suddenly, the door of Jiang Tian's box was kicked open by someone. A bearded man in luxurious clothes rushed in and roared. Bastard, you're blocking my view, do you know that? Either get out of the room or change rooms with me. Jiang Tian's face darkened. This box was arranged by the Sea View Pavilion. If you're not satisfied, go find Long Shuai and Sun Bojun to shout at. Don't bark in front of me. Long Xingnan, who was disguised as Lan Xinglong, quickly walked over and bowed. Young master, the seats here were all decided in advance. Moreover, their positions are well arranged and won't block your line of sight. Please maintain order. Do you have the right to speak here? She's only a maid. The bearded young master turned around and his gaze slowly fell on Long Xingnan. He couldn't help but reveal a deep look of greed. You're not bad looking. Go to the young master's box and serve the young master. If you're satisfied, I'll take you home and let you enjoy yourself. Long Xingnan revealed a somewhat embarrassed and fearful expression. Finally, she squeezed out a smile and said, Young master, you're joking. Who's joking with you? The bearded young master roared, Crawl over here for the young master. You're just a lowly servant who can be picked by anyone. Why pretend to be virtuous? His roar was very loud and attracted a lot of attention. Many guests walked out of the box and looked over at the sound. I've received orders today that I'll only serve Grandmaster Jiang tonight. If you want me to serve you, please get Grandmaster Jiang's permission. Otherwise, the manager will punish me. Long Xingnan bit her lips lightly. Her face was slightly pale. Her beautiful eyes were about to cry. No man could resist her pitiful appearance. So you're the new Grandmaster refining, Jiang Tian, young Master Jiang. The curly-bearded burly man was arrogant as if he was looking at an ant. He looked at Jiang Tian arrogantly and said with a cold snort, "Young master, I want to borrow your female slave. I think you don't have any objections, right? This is going to be interesting. I've heard that Grandmaster Jiang has been in the limelight recently. He helped Qiu Yinong quell the chaos and took credit for it. Even the seafood pavilion was given by Sun Bojun himself. I've heard that this bearded young master is the illegitimate son of the owner of Rubble Island. His name is Luo Long. He's very domineering. If there's a disagreement, he'll kill and rob. Recently, he's killed many Zongzi's direct disciples. They're all fierce people. I wonder what kind of sparks will fly when they clash." Many cultivators were discussing and communicating with each other using their divine senses. Of course. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Jiang Tian walked out of the box and said with a smile, "This girl seems to be a virgin. Her skills are rusty and I don't like her. If young Master Luo likes her, you can take her and train her for me." TSK, he actually gave her away. Although she's just a female slave, can't you see that Luo Long is trampling on his face? He's so shameless. He's so cowardly that he can't even protect his own woman. He's really a disgrace to us cultivators. It's no wonder. Although he's proficient in refining weapons, he's too weak to challenge Luo Long. Many cultivators shook their heads in disdain. Even Elder, who was ashamed and felt that he had lost all face. Luo Long was obviously stunned. A trace of surprise and confusion flashed across Long Xingnan's eyes. Then, Luo Long's evil smile became even more sinister. He looked at Long Xingnan and said with a smile, "It seems that there was a young master who toyed with a woman here last time. He toyed with her until she died. If you don't come over and satisfy me, I'll send you to the barracks and let the thirsty soldiers enjoy you. Let's see how many people you can handle." Everyone shook their heads and sighed. They thought that Luo Long was so domineering to bully a woman. He was worse than a beast. At this time, a handsome man walked out of a private room next to them, surrounded by Shao Qingtan and Xie Tingran. He said coldly, "What are you talking about? What a shameless bastard. The world is clear and bright, yet you still dare to speak such filthy words. You're even so shameless and pleased with yourself. Why don't you speak? Are you afraid that others won't know how smelly your mouth is?" Qin Shangcheng. The Zongzi of the Heavenly Book sect. Everyone was shocked. Seeing that Qin Shangcheng had spoken up, Luo Long's face was filled with viciousness. He said coldly, "Do you know who you're talking to?" "Of course." Qin Shangcheng's demeanor was graceful. His every movement was full of vigor. His eyes were filled with disdain and confidence. "Since you know, you shouldn't be so impulsive because of a woman. You should think about the consequences." Luo Long sneered. "What consequences do I have to think about when talking to a beast?" Qin Shangcheng's lips curled into a mocking smile, causing Shao Qingtan to laugh. She looked at him with admiration as if she was looking at her idol. Qin Shangcheng was also part of the loyal army. However, he was a spy and did not raise his flag. Therefore, he was still a direct disciple of a sect. His status was not lower than Luo Long's. More importantly, he was also a golden core cultivator, while Luo Long was only at the foundation establishment stage. How could Luo Long be a match for him? More importantly, Jiang Tian's maid was harassed, but Luo Long was so timid that he did not even dare to say a word. He just gave up. Compared to Qin Shangcheng, who was a hero who saved the damsel in distress, the difference was like heaven and earth. Luo Long was extremely wretched and cowardly. He was not even worthy of carrying Luo Long's shoes. Chapter 1386. Hearing the mocking laughter of the crowd, Luo Long was enraged. He shouted, "Throw this kid out." Yes. In Luo Long's private room, several figures stood up and exuded a majestic aura. It seemed that there were golden core cultivators in the room. At this time, Long Shui returned and said sternly, "Luo Long, don't you know the rules here? If there's a dispute, get out and fight." However, no one dares to fight in the Seaview Pavilion. Aren't you afraid of the state preceptor's punishment? Hearing this, Luo Long glared at Qin Shangcheng and said coldly, "Today, I'll give Shui face and not kill you." Long Shui smiled and said, "Of course. As for this servant girl, if you like her, I'm willing to give her to young Master Luo. Let that woman crawl into my private room. Today, I'll let her know what it means to be favored in front of everyone." Luo Long's cold gaze swept across. Long Xingnan's eyes were filled with despair. Tears streamed down her face and her body trembled slightly. She looked at Jiang Tian for help. Jiang Tian smiled and said, "Why are you looking at me? You're too ugly. I don't like it. If young Master Luo likes you, then you're convinced. Why aren't you kowtowing and thanking him?" Shoo! The crowd booed. Everyone despised Jiang Tian to the extreme. Xia Tingran and Shao Qingtan were so disgusted that they wanted to vomit. "Yes, young master." Long Xingnan looked resigned to her fate. She could only walk with heavy steps toward Luo Long's private room. However, as soon as she took a step, her arm was grabbed by a pair of strong hands, making her unable to move. "Tonight, you'll sit in my private room." Qin Shangcheng's eyes were cold and arrogant as he looked at Luo Long provocatively. "Long Shui, he's a VIP. Am I not a VIP? Today, I'll protect this woman." Originally, he was only persuaded by Shao Qingtan and Xia Tingran. However, when he saw Long Xingnan's pitiful look, he really felt sorry for her. This woman was a beauty. He didn't believe that she wouldn't be convinced and obediently crawl into his bed. At this moment, he could still feel Long Xingnan and Shao Qingtan's admiring gazes. He was so happy that his soul almost left his body. Suddenly, an old man flew over and bowed apologetically. "I am the manager of the Seaview Pavilion, the chief refiner. Greetings to young Master Qin." "Young Master Qin, I'm sorry. Today, we didn't handle things well. Elder. He's as famous as Master Qin Yan and is highly regarded by Sun Bojun." Everyone exclaimed. "Is a simple apology enough? Where is my face?" Qin Shangcheng asked in a cold voice. His domineering aura overflowed the sky. "Pa!" The elder's eyes turned cold as he slapped Luo Long's face. He roared, "You want to kill someone here? Do you have any respect for the Seaview Pavilion? Do you dare to ignore Imperial Preceptor Sun Bojun?" Junior knows his mistake. Luo Long was sent flying. He covered his face in humiliation, but he didn't dare to move. Seeing that the cabinet elder was on his side, Qin Shangcheng was even more pleased. He sneered, "Since it's a VIP pavilion, we should act like one. Don't let any beast in." "Thank you for your understanding, Qin Zongzi." The cabinet elder cupped his fists and said loudly, "I hope the others can follow the rules of the auction house. All right, let's not waste any more time. The auction is about to begin." "Thank you, young master." Long Xingnan bowed and thanked him. "Don't be so polite. Tonight, you'll accompany me. No one will dare to touch you." Qin Shangcheng looked confident and at ease. His face was full of disdain as he looked at Jiang Tian provocatively, revealing a trace of killing intent. This brat actually dared to slap Shao Qingtan and Xia Tingran's faces with a chicken feather as a token of authority. "Once this matter is completed, I will kill him." Jiang Tian smiled and said, Congratulations, young Master Qin. You've won the heart of a beauty. But be careful not to break your waist if you can't eat this beauty. Brat, you'd better behave yourself. Don't spread rumors. Otherwise, I'll kill you after everything is done. Qin Shangqing threatened Jiang Tian with his divine consciousness. Jiang, you're not a man at all. You can't even protect your maid and humiliate us. Shameless. Shao Qingtan and Xia Tingran stared at Jiang Tian with disdain as they communicated with each other using their divine senses. Jiang Tian ignored them and walked into the room. He said with his divine consciousness, "You've really invested a lot. You've even invited a level 3 nascent soul cultivator." Who's Luo Long? He's my sister's martial uncle and her right-hand man. His name is Long Luo. How did you know? Long Yanan sighed helplessly and her face turned bitter. His elder sister's plan was to deceive everyone, and it could be said to be incomparably exquisite. It could deceive everyone, but it could not deceive Jiang Tian. There are too many loopholes. Jiang Tian sipped the thunder fire wine and said lazily, that cabinet elder's hands were trembling after he beat him up. He covered it with his sleeves, but he couldn't hide from my divine consciousness. Also, I heard that the island master of Rubble Island has the bloodline of the sea serpent, but Long Luo has the bloodline of the sea serpent. It's very difficult to disguise. Long Yanan was silent for a while. She felt that the situation was not good. Suddenly, Jiang Tian shook his head and praised, "Your sister is a talent. She's a nascent soul cultivator but has the battle strength of a nascent soul cultivator. She's so talented, but she's not arrogant or arrogant. She's meticulous and watertight. She's extremely cunning and insidious." She asked Long Shui, to disguise herself as the shopkeeper to attract most of my attention. Even if I recognized Long Shui, I didn't expect her to disguise herself as a maid in a small room. I was actually testing her when I danced. She was also alert, so she asked Long Luo to act with her and pretend to be pitiful. She was testing me and at the same time, she wanted to dispel my wariness. She had already recognized Shao Qingtan and Xia Tingran, but she still didn't make a move. She even became friends with them and made them let their guard down. That was to wait for the battle to break out. She used these people as bargaining chips to threaten me and interfere with me. Now, Qin Shangqing has also become her hostage. Her ruthlessness and viciousness are only a little inferior to mine. If she surrenders this time, I'm prepared to spare her life. You're so arrogant. My sister might not lose. Long Yanan hated Jiang Tian to the extreme, but she was so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood. She was also anxious, as if she was sitting on pins and needles. Don't tell me you really don't plan to save Xia Tingran, Shao Qingtan, and Qin Shangqing? Long Yanan suddenly asked. It depends on the situation. My goal is very clear. I just want to save Ao Jiao, not them. She'll kill her, I'll kill mine. These people are insignificant to me. Jiang Tian sipped the wine pot and said coldly, "When the time comes, if your sister doesn't surrender, I'll kill you. If Sun Bojun doesn't surrender, I'll kill her disciple, Qiu Yinong. You're crazy, you're a demon. Aren't you all trying to save Ao Jiao and work for the true dragon patriarch? How can you be so cold and heartless?" Long Yanan shouted hysterically. This is war, I can't be soft-hearted. I, Kang Te-chu, have never liked to be controlled by others. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of darkness as he smiled faintly. Chapter 1387. Time passed quickly. The maids came back to greet the guests. More and more guests arrived. Many island masters, sect masters, and family heads showed up. There were more than a dozen golden core perfected cultivators and all of them were powerful. The scale of this auction was too high. All the characters from the occupied plains had gathered, and all of them were present. Everyone, thank you for supporting the Seaview Pavilion's auction this time. Finally, the auction started. The old man flew to the middle of the stage to host the auction. He smiled and welcomed the guests. The Seaview Pavilion is a trading company established by the Dragon Gate, Jade Lake, and Ocean Billows realms. Not only do we have treasures from the Dragon Gate world, but we also have elixirs from the Jade Lake and Ocean Billows realms. There are even elixirs and heavenly elixirs. This is the benefit of connecting the three worlds. This is the blessing that Ocean Wave World has given us. Only by submitting to Ocean Wave World, relying on the ruins of deity and being loyal to the Emperor can the Dragon Gate world develop. He sighed regretfully and lamented bitterly, that's right. Back then, True Dragon Ao Feng and Ao Bo refused to submit to Ocean Wave World and the Emperor of the Ruins for their own interests. They went into seclusion and sealed themselves. We haven't even had a nascent soul heavenly lord in the past thousands of years. But the Jade Lake world, which is also a Grade 3 world, has opened its doors and pledged its loyalty to the Ruins Emperor. With the Ruins Emperor's support, it cooperated with many Grade 2 worlds and cooperated with them, achieving an explosive improvement in its cultivation civilization. There are more than a handful of nascent soul heavenly lords and countless golden core nascent soul seeds. Nascent soul cultivators are everywhere and the heavenly lord families are all here. Now, with the support of Ocean Wave World, we've already had 2 nascent soul heavenly lords with cultivation arts, pills and other cultivation resources. That's how great it is to submit to Ocean Wave World. Well said, old man. The master of Pine Fish Island stood up and said. To be honest, I was stuck at the perfected foundation establishment level for 300 years and couldn't make any progress. But a fellow cultivator in Ocean Wave World taught me a few times and I became a golden core perfected cultivator in a day. This is what they mean by, a stone from another mountain can be used to polish jade. Being stuck in one's old ways and building a cart behind closed doors will never improve. True Dragon Ao clan, damn you. Following that, the island master of Wandering Cloud Island, perfected Lord Wandering Cloud, also hurriedly stood up. We have to thank the giant Shark King and Sun Bojun. They took great risks to kill Ao Bo and opened the door to a new world for us. I will always remember Imperial Preceptor's son and be eternally grateful to the giant Shark Emperor. Fellow Taoists, you're right. However, the old man would like to add a few more words. What's the use of being grateful? You need to take action. We should brazenly draw our swords and resolutely strike at the small group of people with ulterior motives led by immortal Xiangui and Xiao Bing. Against the enemy, one must be as merciless as the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. For the rapid development of the Dragon Gate's new world, our sect is willing to shed our last drop of blood and fight to the last man. The sect master of the Jade holding sect rose to his feet. His head of white hair trembled as he continued to express his stance. Following that, the island masters, city masters, family masters, and sect masters all expressed their opinions one after another, fighting to be the first to do so. It was as if they were afraid that they would be killed if they were too late. Everyone's determination to develop the Dragon Gate world is admirable. Seeing that, the cabinet elder nodded in satisfaction. He gestured with his hands to silence everyone. Facts have proven that the true Dragon Old Dynasty's path was extremely wrong. They were like mantises trying to stop a chariot, ants trying to shake a tree. They have already been crushed by the rolling wheels of history. Completely wiped out. He spoke for a while, praising the Jade Pool, Hylon, and the ruins of immortality. He treated Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King like gods, making Jiang Tian drowsy. Suddenly, the cabinet elder's expression turned solemn as he raised his arms and shouted passionately. Let us express our utmost respect to the Ruins Emperor, Long Baxia of the Hylon Dragon Rearing Dynasty, Azure Emperor Chen of the Jade Pool, and His Majesty the Ruins Emperor. We Dragon Gate cultivators, Palatial Lord, may the giant Shark Country's Emperor live forever. We wish Imperial Preceptor Sun Bojun eternal health. We wish His Majesty the Ruins Emperor to live as long as the heavens and enjoy immortal blessings forever. We will always be loyal and never betray you. We will fight to protect the Dragon Gate for the rest of our lives. He bowed deeply and spoke with the most respectful and devout voice in his life. He did not straighten up for a long time. We will always be loyal and never betray you. We will fight to protect the Dragon Gate for the rest of our lives. The sound of chairs being moved resounded out as all the cultivators present stood up and bowed deeply. Their expressions were solemn and devout, and their high battle intent shot straight into the sky as they shouted out hysterically. "Heh heh." In the private room, Jiang Tian suffused a mocking smile. He took a sip of the Thunderfire wine and shook his head. How impressive! Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King have completely taken down this world. Everyone is united. Long Yanan was sighing when she suddenly saw Jiang Tian's disdainful gaze. She snorted coldly. Aren't you convinced? This is the human heart. This is a pack of tigers and wolves. No matter how strong you are, there's no way you can change the situation here. In order to maintain their rule, Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King have already removed the claws and teeth of the tigers and wolves. They have lost their guts and will to resist. They are like a bunch of pugs, wagging their tails and begging for mercy. Jiang Tian said with a lazy smile. What tigers and wolves? What a joke. No matter how high their cultivation is, they are just a bunch of cowards. I can guarantee that as long as I kill the Giant Shark King and Sun Bojun and capture your sister and the rest, they will immediately submit and won't fight for you for even a second. For the development of a cultivation civilization, the ruling class must never be completely enslaved. This was because cultivators who were used to being slaves didn't care who their masters were, and they wouldn't fight for their masters. Whoever gave them food to eat was their master. If you didn't treat them as a human, how could they fight for you? Then, the auctioneer went on stage and the auction items were presented in front of everyone. There were elixirs, Dharma treasures, cultivation arts, and secret manuals. Many of them came from Hai Lan and Jade Lake World. They were all priceless and beneficial for cultivation. Many customers' eyes lit up as they competed to bid. There was a climax of bidding at the scene. Those who won the bid all blushed with excitement and shouted excitedly. In addition, the auctioneer was good at stirring up people's emotions. The atmosphere was heated up. When the last Dharma treasure was sold at the price of 1 billion crystal stones, the auctioneer went on stage and said happily, "Everyone, the heavenly materials and earthly treasures, man-made Dharma treasures and elixirs have been auctioned. Next is the main event. The cultivation tripod auction." As soon as the auctioneer said that, the scene became solemn. Many cultivators revealed greedy looks and almost drooled. A suitable cultivation tripod can make your cultivation progress 1,000 miles in a day. Countless cultivators can step into the foundation establishment stage overnight and reach the nascent soul stage overnight. It's even safer than swallowing elixirs and absorbing spirit stones. Besides, plucking yin to nourish yang and balancing yin and yang is the happiest thing in the world. It's so beautiful and enjoyable. As soon as the auctioneer said that, many male cultivators smiled knowingly. The female cultivators and maids blushed a little unnaturally. This old man can say shamelessly that the cultivation tripod this time is definitely the best of the best because it's a descendant of the royal family of the previous dynasty. She's a talented princess with the bloodline of a flood dragon. Perhaps in order to set off the atmosphere, the auctioneer no longer had his original sage-like and mature demeanor. Instead, he revealed a wretched expression and smiled slyly. Let's not talk about the effects of the cultivation tripod. Let's talk about Ao Jiao's identity. Think about it, she's a princess of the previous dynasty. She's delicate and noble, with golden branches and jade leaves. She was once the dream lover of hundreds of millions of cultivators. She was once someone who needed to be worshipped. Now, she's still a virgin, but you've taken the lead and can pluck her freely. Just thinking about it makes one's blood boil. That sense of accomplishment, TSK, it's simply indescribable. Isn't it beautiful? Auctioneer, don't keep us in suspense. Where's the cultivation tripod? Hurry up and take it out. Whether it's a virgin or not, the old man can't wait anymore. I want to have a taste of her. The old sect master of the Baoyu sect roared loudly. He wasn't the only one. All the cultivators who came to the auction were impatient. They revealed greedy looks and urged one after another. Chapter 1388. Hurry up. I've already collected 10 billion crystals. Even if I have to spend all my wealth, I'll still win. The master of Pine Fish Island looked at the sect master of Huayu sect provocatively. He shook his storage bag and rubbed his palms, eager to fight. That's right. That's Princess Ao Jiao. If I can get close to her, it's worth it even if I lose 100 years of my lifespan. Moreover, I can extend my lifespan and improve my cultivation. Perfected cultivator Yuyun of Roaming Cloud Island looked greedy and intoxicated. He almost drooled. Hurry up. I heard that this girl is in her prime. She has delicate features, red lips, white teeth, smooth skin, and a clear voice. Good cauldron, good cauldron. Invite her out. The rest will depend on who has the most money. Everyone was impatient, and their eyes were filled with hunger. All right. Invite the cauldron. The elder shouted. Whoosh! 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 A dazzling golden ray of light with a long tail pierced through space and tore through the night like a bolt of lightning. The rainbow light came to a stop above the auction stage. It was a 100-meter-long flying boat at the level of a true artifact. There were many complex runes carved into it and there were many golden core cultivators standing guard. And on the deck of the flying boat was a woman. This woman was extremely beautiful. She was tall and slender, and her curves were curvaceous. Her body was shackled by invisible key shackles, and her cultivation was suppressed. She couldn't even commit suicide, and it was difficult for her to even move her fingers. Her clear and beautiful eyes flickered with unyielding anger, and her jade face was filled with resentment and hatred. Everyone, the Ao family has lost. Ao Jiao's dantian rumbled. Her phoenix-like eyes were stern as she chided loudly. But cultivators of Hai Lan and Jade Lake, don't be happy too early. The Dragon Gate world hasn't lost. There are still people fighting. The fire seed of resistance, hasn't been extinguished. Cultivators who betrayed the Dragon Gate world shouldn't be happy either. So what if you've improved your cultivation? So what if you've been rewarded with Dharma treasures? You're still someone else's dog. Slaves will always be slaves. Shut up. The elder said mockingly. You're about to become someone else's cauldron. Why are you still talking nonsense? Now, the auction begins. The starting price is 1 billion crystals. Attack! At this moment, a rough and powerful shout suddenly sounded, like the roar of an angry dragon. It was Xiao Bing's signal. Humph, it's time for me to make my move. Qi La. Qin Shangqing's face turned cold as he stood up. His dantian rumbled as his origin qi erupted, setting off a violent qi wave that scattered in all directions. The pavilion of the box he was in exploded with a loud bang. He summoned a flying sword and was about to kill in all directions. Kill! At this moment, Xia Tingran and Xiao Qingtan both took out their treasured swords and magic treasures. They shouted in unison and were about to charge out. Aunt, how dare you resist? Long Xingnan said coldly. Qin Shangqing was stunned. He didn't understand what she meant. Then, Long Xingnan flicked her finger. With a loud bang, he was sent flying backward along with the flying sword in his hand. He only managed to stabilize himself after crashing through 7 or 8 rooms. Lowering his head, he saw that his dantian had been shattered and was dripping with blood. Even his Aurus core had been sealed by a vast amount of mana, turning him into a cripple. You have cultivation. Nascent soul. Why did you attack me? Qin Shangqing couldn't believe it. He stared at Long Xingnan with a dumbfounded expression. Wasn't this woman a maid? Wasn't she delicate and pitiful, bullied by others? How could her cultivation be so powerful? Moreover, wasn't he the hero who saved the beauty and won her favor? Just now, she called him her benefactor with admiration in her eyes. How gentle and appropriate. You're crazy. How dare you bite the hand that feeds you? Xia Tingran and Xiao Qingtan were also dumbfounded. Their long swords trembled as they stared at Long Xingnan and shouted. Take them down. With a shout, Long Xingnan didn't waste any time. She flicked her finger and with two pops, Xia Tingran and Xiao Qingtan's qi was broken. Whoosh! 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 Several maids at the side were actually at the peak of the Aurus core realm. They swarmed towards the three of them and instantly captured them. On Xiao Bing's side, he had just shouted. Long Shui quickly walked over and frowned. Xiao Bing, what are you shouting for? There's no enemy attack. You can't escape the blame for disturbing the guests. Get out of the way. I'm here today for an important matter. If you dare to stop me, I'll kill you. Xiao Bing held the long spear in his hand and shot up. His body was like a dragon with a domineering aura. He flew towards the flying boat. Idiot. Long Shui smiled coquettishly but didn't show any mercy. With a wave of her hand, more than 10 thin flying swords burst out and became bigger. Xiao Bing's dantian was shattered and he fell to the ground in shock and anger. Shui Qianqing's side had just exploded. A little monkey dares to come out and cause trouble. You're courting death. Long Luo laughed. His body swayed and became 10 feet tall. He slapped down his giant palm and directly smashed Shui Qianqing into a meat patty. Before Shui Qianqing died, his face was still full of shock. He didn't understand how Long Luo, who was rumored to be a good-for-nothing, could be so powerful. In the blink of an eye, all of this had happened in the span of a few breaths. The dozens of Golden Core perfected cultivators who came to rescue Ao Jiao were either captured or killed. The operation had failed. Long Xingnan's attention was not on Qin Shangcheng and the other two. She captured them to exchange hostages and save her sister. Yes. Although Long Yanan's appearance had been changed by Jiang Tian, her speech and behavior couldn't be changed. Long Xingnan, who had spent a lot of time with her, still recognized her. Her second action was to fly up and rush towards Jiang Tian's box like a whistling arrow. Not only her, but Long Shui, Long Luo, and 7 or 8 heavenly lords from the Hailan world, and even a mid-stage nascent soul overlord, all rushed over and surrounded the box. Kang Te Chu, hand over my sister and I'll spare your life. With a boom, Long Xingnan performed the 9 Dragons Emperor art. Her essence qi was like a raging wave hitting the shore. Jiang Tian's box was instantly smashed into pieces. But what shocked Long Xingnan was, in the box where Jiang Tian was, Jiang Tian and Long Yanan were no longer there. Even Xia Yan wasn't there. Where is he? Cold sweat broke out on Long Xingnan's forehead and her heart palpitated. This meant that Jiang Tian might have a Dharma art that could open up a dimension, or his speed was faster than her eyes and immortal will. Her immortal will had been locked on Jiang Tian's box, but she didn't know when Jiang Tian left. That was terrifying. Although she was a nascent soul cultivator, her strength was completely superior to ordinary early-stage nascent soul cultivators. Her immortal will was extremely powerful, but she didn't even know when Jiang Tian left. If Jiang Tian could open up a dimension, it would be even more terrifying. Only nascent soul heavenly lords could control space, even if it was a small forbidden area. Long Xingnan, are you looking for me? How rude. You even destroyed my private room and gave me a flask of thunderfire wine. Suddenly, a mocking laugh came from the sky. How is that possible? Long Xingnan, Long Luo, and Long Shui looked up in shock. They didn't know when Jiang Tian had arrived on the flying ship silently and killed all the Golden Core cultivators. At this time, the bodies fell like raindrops. Even the cabinet elder had been killed at some point, and his head was lying on the ground. This was only on the surface. There were 3 early-stage nascent soul heavenly lords hiding on the flying ship, planning to ambush the people who came to rescue, including Jiang Tian. But at this time, the 3 heavenly lords were also killed silently by Jiang Tian. Killing heavenly lords without a sound. What kind of terrifying existence was this? At this time, Jiang Tian not only arrived on the flying ship and killed all the guards, but also broke the restriction chains of Ao Jiao. He lay lazily on the bed, waved his folding fan gently and opened his mouth to eat a grape handed to him by Long Yanan. At the side, Long Yanan's eyes were filled with tears as she held a fruit platter, and she stood by Jiang Tian's side while trembling with fear like a maid. Chapter 1389. Kang Te Chu. What a powerful movement technique. Long Xingnan gritted her teeth as her eyes turned sharp. She never expected Jiang Tian to be that powerful. She had carefully set up an ambush and surrounded him heavily, but she still failed to stop him. Now, Ao Jiao had been rescued by Jiang Tian. She had very few chips left. She only had Xia Tingran, Shao Qingtan, Qin Shangcheng, and company. Kang Te Chu, you are quite a talent. If you release my sister and pledge your loyalty to our sea below world, I'll let bygones be bygones and spare your life. Long Xingnan bellowed. Long Xingnan, you should know that your Hui dragon lineage was originally rearing flood dragons for His Majesty, Ao Emperor. Jiang Tian's posture was languid as he sipped his thunderfire wine. He said with a smile, I heard that your ancestors were hot-blooded and outspoken. They once fought a bloody battle for Emperor Zhongli, Ao Emperor, and the ancient Earth's interstellar migration. Many of them were suppressed and killed by the Ruins Emperor. It was truly admirable. Jiang Tian's eyes revealed a look of disdain as he shook his head with a bitter smile. As their descendants, why did you submit to that old wretch, the Ruins Emperor? Why did you submit to him when you were so beautiful? Now, all of you are submitting to the Ruins Emperor and groveling. Aren't you letting down your ancestors? Jiang Tian guided patiently. Why don't we bury the hatchet and work together to break through the clouds and storm the ruins of immortality? We can behead the Ruins Emperor and seek justice for your Hui dragon lineage. Wouldn't that be wonderful? The moment Jiang Tian said that, the entire area fell silent. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian as though he was a lunatic in disbelief. The Ruins Emperor's strength was unfathomable. He was like a peerless god, lofty and exuding an imperial might. He ruled over all the races in the various worlds of the Ruins of Immortality, overlooking the endless territories of the Ruins of Immortality. For tens of thousands of years, no one dared to challenge him or resist him. Even if Jiang Tian had the strength of a nascent soul and was shockingly talented, challenging the Ruins Emperor was akin to a street basketball enthusiast claiming that he wanted to beat Jordan or Kobe Bryant. He was completely oblivious to the immensity of heaven and earth. He was courting death. Kang Te Chu, you are too arrogant. No one could do that. Only death awaits those who resist. Long Xingnan shook her head in slight ridicule. Everything I've set up today was to lure you here. How could I not be confident? You can't escape, just surrender. You want to kill me? Do you know how many nascent soul heavenly lords I've killed? Jiang Tian smiled. You think it's just us? Wrong. This time, I even invited many fellow Taoists from the third and second dimensional worlds to help me. Fellow Taoists, come out and meet fellow Taoist Grand Primordium. Following Long Xingnan's shout. Rumble. Rumble. The energy of a nascent soul heavenly lord rose from every corner of the island and soared into the sky. Swoosh. Swoosh. Streaks of light and rainbows, dragging long tails behind them, shot out from all around the 18 islands. More than 10 nascent soul heavenly lords floated in the air like gods and Buddhas, trapping Jiang Tian in the middle. Kang Te Chu, surrender. Sun Bojun, the sword artist of the ocean cover, shouted loudly with his nascent soul. His eyebrows were raised and his sleeves fluttered like an immortal. Kang Te Chu, you can't do it. Only death awaits you if you resist. Let him go and admit your guilt. The giant shark king's body was huge and his aura was strong. His eyes were cold and he roared like a black shark, revealing his white teeth. His aura was extremely terrifying. Sun Bojun, giant shark king, you two are like dogs. How dare you talk to me? Get your master out here. Jiang Tian was disdainful and arrogant. You. The two of them were enraged. However, what Jiang Tian said was the truth. This time, even the realm lord of the level 3 Jade Lake world, Emperor Qin Qing, had come personally. Many powerful warriors of the level 2 Sea Billow world had also come. There were even war gods from the western desert and the southern barbarian world. Kang Te-chu, don't be so arrogant. How dare you kill a few heavenly lords of the Jade Lake? I won't let you go this time. Admit defeat, or die, you choose. Everyone was shocked when they saw the master of the Jade Lake, Emperor Qin Qing, accompanied by Crown Prince Qin Bahuang. Their viciousness was fierce and their energy seemed to be able to tear the world apart. Then, one after another, the nascent soul heavenly lords roared and released their dharma bodies. Some were as hot as fire, some were as heavy as thousands of mountains, some were as ethereal as clouds and some were as sharp as swords. A nascent soul heavenly lord already had the power to destroy rivers and seas. What did a dozen nascent soul heavenly lords do at the same time? Violent pressure swept out in all directions, causing numerous mountains to collapse, towering trees to snap like withered grass, and in the next moment, they were torn into gales by the chaotic force, causing palaces to collapse and buildings to transform into broken walls and ruins. The entire 500-mile area around the 18 islands shook violently as if there were an earthquake, as if it were about to collapse in the next second. Rumble. Within a radius of a few thousand miles around the island, the sea of clouds high up in the sky was swept clean. The 1,000-meter-tall waves overflowed into the sky, capsizing giant ships. Thunderclaps exploded, and 10-mile-long thunderbolts were like giant dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. Heavy rain poured down, and the weather changed. Oh my God, is the sky falling and the earth rending? It's said that such a terrible change only happened during the era of breaks in history. The energy spread 3,000-mile radius. Not to mention the 18 islands, even the entire Dragon Gate world was startled. Countless cultivators raised their heads and looked over with fear and trepidation. Since you're so stubborn, I won't waste my time talking to you. I'll crush each and every one of you into meat paste. Facing the violent storm of pressure, Jiang Tian was like a gentle breeze brushing past his face. He did not move at all, and even his clothes did not flutter. His vast forbidden area even enveloped the entire flying ship, as if it was in another world. Even Dragon Lady Ao Jiao wasn't affected at all. Who is he? Why did he save me? Why isn't he afraid of those nascent soul heavenly lords? At this moment, Ao Jiao looked at Jiang Tian with admiration. Her heart was in a daze and her eyes were blank and intoxicated. So, the target of this furnace auction wasn't us. It was to attract and deal with Kang Te-chu alone. We're just pitiful creatures who don't know what's good for us and want to die. At this time, Xiao Bing was lying on the ground like a dead dog, trembling. He had mixed feelings and was extremely shocked. So, what he said was true. There are dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords here. How ridiculous. We didn't know what's good for us and came here to die. After figuring this out, Xiao Bing regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Sensing Ao Jiao's admiring gaze towards Jiang Tian, Xiao Bing felt that he was extremely ridiculous. Ah. I thought I was a romantic and brave man and mocked him for being weak and incompetent. It turns out that he has already seen through everything. Qin Shangqing shook his head and sighed. His face was full of shame and he wanted to cry. It turns out that the so-called maid is actually the princess of the Hailan world, the genius on the god of war list, Long Xingnan. Saying that he was resourceful, saying that he was elegant, but in the end, he was schemed against like a stupid pig. Even his dantian was destroyed by someone with a raise of his hand. Speaking of which, their battle awareness was far worse than Jiang Tian's. Whether it was Xiao Bing or Qin Shangcheng, compared to Jiang Tian, they were too weak. When they met Long Shui, Long Xingnan was beautiful and pitiful, so they let their guard down. Qin Shangcheng seemed to be hot-blooded, but he was extremely stupid. He didn't know that those women were not only stronger than them, but also more meticulous and ruthless. He wasn't like Jiang Tian. He didn't care how pretty, how gentle, and how gentle she was when she begged him. He only cared about being completely focused on his target and being on guard against everything. He saw everything clearly and directly pointed out the truth and essence. Chapter 1390. What a joke. I thought he coveted my beauty. So he was just using me to hide his identity. He even killed the heavenly monarchs of the Jade Pool like they were nothing. Even the giant Shark King and Sun Bojun were not qualified to talk to him on equal terms. Why would he fancy me? Xia Tingran was also captured and became a prisoner. Looking at Jiang Tian, who was facing the pressure of more than a dozen nascent soul heavenly monarchs alone, she felt that her previous actions were so laughable. She couldn't help but recall Jiang Tian's words, "It is your honor to be my shield." Back then, she scolded Jiang Tian for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. Now that she thought about it, it wasn't an exaggeration at all. Jiang Tian alone had attracted more than a dozen nascent soul heavenly monarchs of the war god list. Regardless of victory or defeat, Jiang Tian was enough to look down on the entire Dragon Gate world. In the past, they were known to be brave and good at fighting. But when they encountered nascent soul heavenly monarchs, they ran faster than rabbits. What a joke. I actually wanted to kill him. If I really attacked, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to block one of his fingers. Xiao Qingtan was also scared and regretted her stupidity. She could not help but recall Jiang Tian's words, "Good words cannot persuade those who deserve to die." That was true. In fact, this battle was a peak battle between nascent soul heavenly monarchs. More than a dozen nascent soul heavenly monarchs were mobilized to kill Jiang Tian and rescue Long Yanan. Golden Core and Foundation establishment cultivators like them were like ants in such a great battle. They would be crushed to pieces with a raise of a hand. They were not qualified to participate at all. They were just sending themselves to their deaths. Long Xingnan. Bai Zhe also flew onto the flying boat, his eyes filled with arrogance as he said, "Isn't the Lord's words very right? We should conquer the Sea of Stars and crush the ruins Emperor's dog head. What's the point of always thinking about the inferior world? Long Xingnan, hurry up and submit to me. Don't you like Xianlong? I, the purple gold true dragon, love to keep human pets. You will be my human pet from now on." The old dragon in the form of a big black dog roared arrogantly. Long Xingnan was so angry that her nose became crooked. Fight! In the end, the true dragon ancestral patriarch stepped forward and shouted, "The Dragon Gate world will never submit. We will defend Earth and fight the ruins Emperor. My lord will flatten everything. All of you, quickly retreat. True dragon patriarch, you're still alive." Others might not recognize him, but Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King were his old subordinates. They immediately revealed looks of shock. "Ancestor! You have to avenge us." Seeing that the true dragon old ancestor had personally come, Eo Jiao could no longer hold it in and directly burst into tears of joy. "Child, you've suffered. It's my fault. But don't worry. This blood feud must be avenged today, and they must pay back 100-fold. From now on, they won't be able to harm even a finger of yours." The true dragon looked at her lovingly and said with a gloomy face, "Ancestor, save me. We're all fighting for the true dragon bloodline. We're all loyal. You and Jiang Tian can't abandon us." Only then did they realize that Jiang Tian's old servant was the famous true dragon ancestral patriarch. They could not help but shout as if they were drowning people clutching at straws. Sun Bojun's eyes flashed. He raised his hand and pulled Xiao Qingtan over. He pinched her snow-white neck and threatened coldly. Ao Feng, Kang Tae-chu, don't kill anymore. As long as you let Long Yanan go and surrender, we'll immediately sign a ceasefire agreement. We won't kill you all. Instead, we'll nurture you. If you don't surrender, all of these hostages will die today. They're fighting for you and are loyal. Are you willing to watch them die? Xiao Qingtan was so scared that she peed her pants. Tears fell like rain as she shouted, Ancestor, perfected cultivator Jiang, save me. I don't want to die. Ao Feng's face was as calm as still water. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was calm. Kill them all. I just want to kill all of you. I don't care who gets killed. You can kill them all you want. Do you want me to sharpen your knife for you? Although Jiang Tian was smiling, his eyes were incomparably cold, as if they were hanging high up in the sky, without the slightest ripple. What? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. They had never thought that Jiang Tian would be so cold-hearted and vicious as to watch such a cute girl be killed. This is the true nature of a heavenly lord. A real overlord has no weaknesses. He won't back down even if his family and friends are in the enemy's hands. But I heard that he rose to power on Earth. How did such a gentle and low-level civilization develop such a demonic mentality? Only some of the experienced nascent soul heavenly lords were frightened, as if they had seen a ghost. Perfected cultivator Jiang, save me. Xiao Qingtan's clear and beautiful eyes were filled with tears, and her ghastly pale face was filled with fear. Her delicate body trembled, and dazzling waves rippled before her fair chest. Her pair of slender and beautiful legs kicked powerlessly, and her delicate cherry lips trembled as she begged bitterly. Just surrender. Isn't it great to sign a truce and return peace to this world? Didn't you say that I'm not a man and I can't even protect a maid? I didn't even dare to attack Long Luo, let alone so many heavenly lords. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Jiang Tian's cold and indifferent attitude caused Xiao Qingtan's heart to fall into an abyss. His entire body went cold as despair and regret filled his heart, causing him to feel extremely bitter. If she hadn't been so rude to him before, maybe he would have helped her then. He was able to kill his way into the encirclement and save Ao Jiao. Now, he can also save me and escape unscathed. Unfortunately, it was too late. Sun Bojun, are you going to kill me or not? Jiang Tian's eyes were cold and he mocked. Aren't you famous in the Dragon Gate world? So soft-hearted, what a sissy. I despise you. If you don't dare to do it, I'll do it for you. You won't survive if you don't go crazy. This guy is like a devil. He's too terrifying. Everyone was terrified. Fine. I'll kill you. Sun Bojun's eyes were red as he shouted. He shook his arm and turned Xiao Qingtan into a cloud of blood mist. Even her divine soul was destroyed. It was a pity that this peerless beauty who was ranked in the top 10 of the Dragon Gate world had perished just like that, turning into dust. Master, don't kill her. Kang Tae-chu has cast the soul-swallowing death curse on me. At this moment, Qiu Yinong screamed, her beautiful face turning pale. But it was too late. Sun Bojun was full of killing intent and attacked quickly. What? You're under his spell. Sun Bojun couldn't believe it. Grandmaster Jiang might be Kang Tae-chu. He could hide it from others, but not from Long Xingnan and the others. They already knew that he was involved in the operation. But to avoid alerting the enemy, Sun Bojun didn't ask Qiu Yinong. Instead, he searched her body with his divine sense and didn't find any spells or restrictions. He didn't expect Jiang Tian to cast a spell on her. Yes, it's time for you to die. You can get your lunchbox now. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. He did not show any mercy as he unleashed his soul devourer's spiritual sense. Bang! Qiu Yinong's head exploded like a watermelon and her headless body fell to the ground. Kang Tae-chu, you're so cruel. Sun Bojun's eyes were wide open and his body trembled. He almost spurted out blood. Qiu Yinong was his favorite disciple. She was talented and had a bright future. In the future, she had hopes of becoming a golden core perfected essence cultivator and even a nascent soul heavenly lord. It could be said that he had placed too much of his hopes on her, and she also bore the weight of his countless efforts. But now, she was killed by Jiang Tian in the blink of an eye. Yes, you're not as cruel as I am. Jiang Tian threw out Sha Qianqiu and Lin Shiling's heads and said coldly. I'm good at killing people. Sha Qianqiu died in front of me and Lin Shiling was killed by my sword. What do you think of these two gifts? Kang Te Chu. I'll fight you to the death today. The giant Shark King and Sun Bojun were heartbroken when they saw this, and they roared in unison. Their furious roars were like surging thunder, and they wished for nothing more than to tear Jiang Tian into pieces to vent their hatred. Chapter 1391. He is so cruel. We shouldn't have offended him. At this moment, Xiao Bing and the others were trembling in fear and regret. They didn't expect that Jiang Tian wouldn't save them at all. They regretted that they shouldn't have offended Jiang Tian. Otherwise, Jiang Tian might have taken their lives into consideration. I wonder if immortal Xiangui will succeed in the ambush in Dragon City. He will take a few hostages in exchange for our lives. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope flashed in Xia Tingren's eyes. They had split into two groups. Immortal Xiangui had led many experts to the ambush in Dragon City to distract Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King so that the Seaview Pavilion wouldn't be so heavily guarded. It would be easier for them to succeed. However, at this moment, perfected Lord Xiangui, who was covered in blood, flew over on his flying sword and shouted with his divine consciousness, Master Xiangui. Xiao Bing, the assassination in Dragon City has failed. Mr. Jiang was right. There are 3 nascent soul heavenly lords in Dragon City. Many heavenly lords from Hai Lan and Jade Lake are here. We were caught unprepared, and even your father died in battle. You should run. His voice stopped abruptly because he had seen everything clearly. He was too late. Xiao Bing and the others were all captured. Xiao Bing and Xia Tingren's hearts sank. They didn't expect that even their last hope would be destroyed. Sigh, this Mr. Jiang's plan is flawless and flawless. We are so stupid. Xia Tingren burst into tears. At this moment, she wanted to kill herself. Jiang Tian and ancestral patriarch Xia Yan had advised her many times. If she had listened to them, she wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable state. My father is dead. He was killed by me. I am not a hero. I am a bear. I am a club. Xiao Bing felt even more sorrowful. He howled miserably like a puppy that had been whipped by its owner. He was arrogant and conceited, looking down on Jiang Tian too much. He didn't listen to his advice and even caused the death of his younger sister and father. Immortal Xiangui, come here. My ancestral patriarch and Jiang Tian are in charge here. Ao Jiao said. What? This old servant was actually ancestor Ao Feng. This young Master Jiang is actually a heaven monarch. Perfected Lord Black Turtle was greatly shocked. Confused to the extreme, he flew to the flying boat with a few defeated soldiers in a daze. Long Xingnan, do you still want to continue killing? However, the next person I'm going to kill is Long Yanan. Jiang Tian didn't care about this little episode at all. His eyes were indifferent and emotionless as he waved his finger. With a sharp sound, a sharp Gung Jin saber light slashed down. Long Yanan let out a blood-curdling scream as tears streamed down her face. One of her arms fell to the deck, and blood gushed out like a tide. Fairy Xingnan, fellow Taoists, what should we do? At this moment, even Sun Bojun was panicking. He glanced at Long Xingnan with a serious expression, as if he was facing a great enemy. Kang Te Chu was truly too vicious. He treated human lives like grass and did not even blink when he killed. He also did not care about the lives of the captives in the Dragon Gate world. Slaughtering the hostages was like a game to him. Sun Bojung could confirm that Jiang Tian could kill Long Yanan at any time. Long Xingnan's plan was far-reaching. She thought that as long as she captured many Dragon Gate cultivators who resisted, she could make Jiang Tian hesitate and let Long Yanan go. She could even make Jiang Tian surrender without a fight. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian was so cold-blooded and ruthless that he did not care about the lives of the people at all. His goal was only to kill everyone. Let them go. Long Xingnan gritted her teeth and said. Xiao Bing, Xia Tingran, Qin Shangcheng and the others were released. They were taken to the flying boat by perfected Lord Black Turtle, but they were so scared that they all hid behind Patriarch True Dragon and cowered like quails, not daring to say a word again. At this moment, Long Xingnan felt that Jiang Tian was like a hedgehog that she could not bite at all. She gritted her teeth and said, Kang Te Chu, you're holding a woman hostage. What kind of ability is that? If you have guts, let's not do anything to the hostages and have a fair duel. If you win, we'll leave this world. A fair duel? Are you kidding me? Jiang Tian said with disdain, you're a group of nascent soul heavenly lords. What kind of duel is this? We outnumber you and we're stronger than you. How we kill you will be up to us. If you don't let them go, I won't show any mercy. Not only will I kill you, but I'll also attack Earth and kill your parents and relatives. In the crowd, Emperor Chen Qing sneered and snorted. In fact, everyone had expected this outcome. Kang Te Chu was not a fool. How would he dare to fight with so many nascent soul heavenly lords? He seemed to be only at the golden core level. Even if he had a secret art and could kill one or two nascent soul heavenly lords, he was no match for so many nascent soul heavenly lords. Emperor Chen Qing, how dare you shout in front of me? Jiang Tian laughed. Suddenly, the soul devourer's divine sense burst out and a faint divine soul came out. It was Qin Liuhe's divine soul. His body twisted and trembled uncontrollably as he screamed, Imperial Father, save me. I don't want to die. I haven't fulfilled my filial duties in front of you. I still have a lot of unfulfilled wishes. Tai Chu, please listen to me. Emperor Chen Qing didn't expect his son's divine soul to still be intact. He panicked and shouted. Emperor Chen Qing was a mid-stage nascent soul heavenly lord. He was powerful and unpredictable. He had many ways to strengthen his divine soul and help others take over other people's bodies. As long as Qin Liuhe's divine soul was intact, he would be able to revive him. For them, the destruction of their bodies was not a real death. Only the destruction of their divine souls would be counted. I, Kang Te Chu, am the ruler of the stellar sky boundary. All the cultivators and mortals there are my people. How many of my people have your Jade Lake army killed? Jiang Tian's face was full of sarcasm. How many people have lost their sons and daughters, sending off their children before their own? How many widows and orphans have been left behind? I want to kill your son, but you don't have the heart to do it. Have you ever thought about the despair and pain they felt when they were killed? In your eyes, in the cultivation world, the strong are respected. Whoever has the bigger fist is right. It's also fair for the strong to kill the weak. Well, now I'm stronger than Qin Liuhe. What can you do if I kill him? This, Emperor Chen Qing was terrified. His outstretched hand trembled violently, but he couldn't say anything. Die! Jiang Tian showed no mercy. Father! As Qin Liuhe screamed in despair, the soul devourer's divine sense burst out, like thousands of tentacles dancing in the air, directly tearing Qin Liuhe's divine soul, crushing it into pieces, and then devouring it, turning it into Jiang Tian's pure spirit power. Ah! My son, you died so miserably. Emperor Chen Qing felt like his heart was being stabbed by a knife. Tears of blood flowed down his cheeks. He cried to the sky and pointed at Jiang Tian. Jiang Taichu, I won't rest until you're dead. I'll tear you into pieces, extract your divine soul, and torture you for 10,000 years. Only then can I vent my hatred. Kang Taichu. Jiang Tian had killed many people, but Long Xingnan couldn't do anything. She was so angry that her face turned pale. She shouted angrily, "What will it take for you to let go of my sister?" Jiang Tian smiled and said with a mocking look, "We don't have a blood feud. Of course I can let go of your sister. But Emperor Qin Qing, Sun Bojun, and the giant Shark King all have a deep hatred for me. What if they take revenge on me? Don't talk to me with your divine senses. I want you to shout so that everyone can hear you and be a witness. Otherwise, when you tear up the contract and kill me, there will be no evidence." Long Xingnan sensed the mocking look in Jiang Tian's eyes. She secretly complained. Kang Taechu was so cunning. He wanted to use her attitude to weaken Emperor Qin Qing's fighting spirit and disintegrate the alliance of the three worlds. "Kang Taechu, as long as you let go of my sister." But Long Xingnan had no other choice. She shouted, "All the previous grievances will be written off. I, the nightmare dragon lineage of Billow World, will definitely protect you. No one, no power will be able to harm you."